to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Aslı.
Chloe, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Aslı.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running.
Sorry for what?
But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love him when he does that.
everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here, coming at you with another raw narrative. It's so good to see all of you guys today. Hey, Meganels, good to see you. I saw Town Chat Cafe, Little Redo, Astrology for Mystics with Jen. Good to see you, Jen. I also saw Ann Reynolds and Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Thank you all so much for being here, and happy Friday. Hey, little Miss Sharon, good to see you. Aw, good to see you. Hey, Kai Kai and Suzanne. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry, I was checking on something backstage while I was while I was starting the show, and I didn't pop your guys' comments up. So my apologies. It is Seth's birthday, so happy birthday, Seth! And I hope you had just a chance to do something nice for yourself today. You know, just relax, because I know you're always working hard on trying to find Sebastian. We have a lot to talk about tonight, guys. So I'm glad you all are here. Thank you. Happy Friday to you too, Perfectly a Perfect Boy Mom. So we have the Decker Sister Memorial that happened. Three sisters whose father is still on the run for kidnapping them and a triple homicide. So, he's still on the loose, but they are memorializing the girls. They each had a favorite color. I believe it was Olivia Green, off the top of my head. Evelyn, I believe, like pink, and I believe that Peyton, the oldest one, like purple. That's what I heard anyways. So I hope that it was, tricolored hearts everywhere, and I hope that it was healing energy and good vibes all around. So thanks, Loretto. Thank you. Yeah, the dragon, the dragons. I love that show, Game of Thrones. So we also have some interesting updates in the Jack and Lily case. So really breaking updates where people are starting to come forward. Now there is a cash reward for $150,000. So money talks, bullshit walks. Let's see if people are going to come forward and talk. But I will say, I think that Malaya knows more, has the guilty knowledge. I do think that, shout out to Mob Crew. They did a really great video earlier today that I watched, with some updates. And we did watch Daniel Martel last night. And if you didn't get a chance to check it out, definitely go and watch last night's live. But he answered some questions for news affiliate. I'm not sure. I believe it was, Canadian News. So there's a lot to kind of go over. Justin had a call in from someone who knows the family and was supposed to have met with Malaya today. Now, I don't know that will happen or not. I guess she was advised not to. In this case, we have a lot of involvement from maybe a tribunal standpoint, right? From the tribe. And he show poodles. And so that is an interesting element that we don't always see involved. So let me go ahead and switch this over really quick. And of course, and I have something interesting in the Sebastian Rogers case as well. And then if you saw the preview that I posted, there's some slight updates in Claire's case, Claire Bell. And we're going to discuss all of that tonight. So we have a lot to get to. I thought I kept a background for... Okay, maybe I didn't. Maybe I don't have a background for them anymore. I thought I did. Let's see. But either way, we do have the two children, Lily and Jack, missing from Nova Scotia, Canada. And they've been missing for a few weeks now. Here we go. I have pictures of them, but I just don't have a background. But they had the candlelit light vigil and everything, and people searching in the woods for the kids. They've had everything that we typically see in a missing children's case. They are investigating as well. So, but we have people coming forward now that there's a $150,000 cash reward up for Lily and Jack and information related to the case. So, and they're just as cute as they can be, 4 and 6 years old. And there was some discussion on Justin's whether or not to classify some of the things that Daniel was doing as abuse or not abuse. So basically, do you classify a pop on the behind as abuse? And what warrants the pop on the behind is my question, right? But then again, and I agree with Justin, and we've talked about it here. I just don't think that there's any reason to pop a kid. They're not really learning anything from it. And then there's also so many things nowadays that can kind of be used as leverage, like, phone time and things like that. Hey, SI officer, good to see you. There's a lot to kind of go over in that statement, I think, by someone who is close to the family. Apparently, the children's biological father, according to this source, was abusive toward the children, toward Malaya, and she possibly has PTSD from it. If Daniel was to raise his voice at Malaya, she would be terrified, states the source. That's close to the family, did a call in earlier. So he also wanted to clear the air about the mills being closed and Daniel only working 1 day a week. So he said that they pretty much run the mills like 9 months a year, and then the employees that want to stay or that the company wants to stay will give them 1 day a week. And then they can still claim unemployment. They can earn 25% of whatever they were making before. So that there makes a little bit more sense to me. Whether it's relevant or not, I'm not sure. I think it's more relevant to ask ourselves, why were both of the parents who were supposed to be taking care of the children that morning sleeping in like they did, right? They slept in my opinion. We're definitely seeing some blaming going on, right? In this case. And just bear with me, guys. I wanted to pull this in. Okay, sorry about that. I wanted to see if I could pull this in, and I probably can. This is also, Justin put this kind of together. Let's see if I can add that. There we go. And it gives a timeline. So thank you, Justin. This is great. Who was really awake that morning? So we have who was awake first, right? Daniel, and then Malaya and the baby and baby Meadow, right? And then we have in the other chart who was asleep, and you had Malaya and baby Meadow, and then Daniel and baby Meadow, right? Who realized the kids were missing? Daniel did, and we know that. And he also said he reported the children missing like 20 minutes after he discovered they were missing, something to that effect, right? Who woke the other one up? Did Malaya wake up first, or did Malaya? Just who woke up? Who woke the other up? And it would have probably had to have been Daniel if he discovered the children. Was Malaya on her phone? Yes, Daniel says that she was texting, and she said that she was not. She was dozing off. Right, so just some, like a little comparison chart, if you will. And these are all great questions that I would imagine the RCMP is aware of, right? But who knows? They seem to have been pretty thorough. And oh, thank you, Little Redo. Sorry, guys, I'm going to go to the comments and see. I heard a Canadian TV station that Claire was laying in a ditch. Yes, Kai, she was lying in a ditch. So we're going to get into that later. And I just can't even believe that she was out there like that, right? So she I said it in a video earlier. When I heard that, she definitely left her for dead, right? I mean, she was out there. The dog was also found on the road, but the dog wasn't so lucky. Terrible, right? It's just to think she could just go out there and do that. Pamela Roberts says, I don't believe that Claire sat there for 3 days. You know, I mean, she told the officers her mom was going to come back for her, and they left her near the spot. And there's a good clip that I have where it kind of shows the day's events, right? They start out at their apartment, and then it kind of goes along the route of the days and how things went. The souvenir shop where she kind of turned up. One article I read said no shoes on, but we're going to get into little Claire. The news outlets have asked us not to share her photograph anymore. And I don't know, you know, really what to think about that. I think I fall somewhere in the middle. It is so sad. The dog made me cry too, Lil Redo. How sad is that? You know, she just dumps the dog off, and you know, who knows what happened. You know, and I couldn't help but think about, you know, how Claire was probably asking for her dog, and they probably had to say that her dog isn't there anymore. You know, very terrible, horrible circumstances, and honestly, I have a lot of things to say about it. I just do. I think what mother does that? No mother I would ever know. And if you can't trust your own mother, who can you trust? So trust no one. Let's see. I wanted to pull in for this Lily and Jack case. I want to make sure I get the right one here. Okay, here we go. So these are from Mob Crew. So shout out to Mob Crew. Thank you so much for doing this. Daniel Martell's in chats. He says, she couldn't stay around me because she would crack. I would find out. So that's an interesting comment. And that's not the only one. So she couldn't stay around me because she would crack. I would find out. So Daniel is definitely blaming Malaya for something. He says, yes, she's terrified investigators are close. Well, if they haven't talked, how would he know that? Did he hear that from someone else? Or are they talking again? And I really don't know. That was not a rhetorical question. That was a question that I'm really curious about. It's not an abduction, he says. That's criminal investigation. It's missing persons case. It's missing people's cases because there's a 4 and a 6-year-old child that are missing. But Daniel says it's not an abduction. We heard earlier that supposedly there was an abduction, that she brought the kids to some car on the road. And they do live right next to a road. So maybe Malaya knows everything, I think is what he was trying to say. Malaya knows everything, excuse me. So. Bro, Malaya is on the run from the RCMP. What don't you get, bro? So he's frustrated and he wants people to believe him and he's very adamant about this, right? I mean, he's definitely saying she knows more. So maybe he does know the polygraph results, but he didn't want to tell us. Kids are alive. Polygraph exam questions were all on death. Everyone passed. So now he's saying everyone passed. Right? So we're seeing a lot of inconsistencies, and this is the thing, when people do come out and talk, we end up seeing these inconsistencies. I want Meadow, not Maleha. So according to Daniel, he has not been able to see their 1-year-old daughter, Meadow, and he says that he doesn't want Malaya, but he wants his daughter, Meadow. He does have 2 other children, though. He's not as vocal about them. I don't know if their mother is allowing for them to see, but I heard that Malaya had to relinquish custody to CPS for Meadow. And then he says, bro, Malaya is on the run from RCMP. What don't you get? Oh, I'm sorry. I must have put in 2 of those. But either way, you can see his frustration. And obviously, we're going to see some of that. I mean, that to me isn't something that's really shocking or out of the ordinary. She has Meadow and is on the run. And then this other person doesn't think that that is, Daniel. But it has been verified that this is Daniel Martel. And he's speaking, on the children in different chats, or, in this chat in particular. Gives us a little insight into what he's thinking. And people are always more vocal on the internet. I think they just feel more comfortable. Daniel Martel says kids are alive. Polygraph exam questions were all on death and everyone passed. Okay, so I must have gotten a couple of these in here. Sorry, guys. But either way, again, the kids are alive. Polygraph questions were all about death. And he did say that in the interview we listened to yesterday. He kind of went over if he was an accomplice to a situation, if the children were, alive, that sort of thing. So, I wish the RCMP would come out and let us know. And then we see the property again. I just kind of want to pull in a couple of these photos and kind of closer up too. I saw a lot of debris and different things that you wouldn't typically see when Malaya's ex-mother-in-law was talking about. She was very clean and well put together and organized. And when she saw the pictures of the house, it looked more like a camp. And I do think that that is true. I get that you're in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like anybody's going to, see really. So there, why clean up? But in the same way, I don't know. I just have another picture in here where there's a lot of trash, and they're big trash cans you can see in the background. And of course, it looks like Lily and Jack are doing a fun project, painting. But in the background, there is a bunch of trash. And I don't know. I just don't think that that's healthy conditions. And it just kind of popped a red flag up to me. So I wanted to show that to you all. But those are some text messages, but those are some messages that he has put in the comments about what he feels about Malaya and ultimately her involvement or her knowing more. Couponing, good to see you. Lady, that's pretty much Malaya's. Oh, yeah, okay. Kai Kai says, Lady, that is pretty much what Malaya's cousin said, that she is on the reservation away from the RCMP. Yeah, that and I remember him saying that last night, that, she's kind of taken refuge there. And that is sad. Oh, yeah, something definitely doesn't make any sense. Lil Redo. Absolutely doesn't make sense. Oh, the Chihuahua, Little Redo, I'm so sorry. I mean, and that's the thing, like, most of us, pets are like our family members, and for her to just leave we don't even know what she did to the Chihuahua, if she, like, took his life and left him in the middle of the road, or if she just, or on the side of the road, or if she, just dumped him out and he passed away. There are places, if you have even your child that you don't want to take care of your child anymore that you can bring them to. So I don't understand why anybody would do something like this. Obviously, Rachel Todd is not in her correct state of mind. She's just not at all. Not at all. And you could see it in these. This is the last, kind of TikTok that we saw. Any of the other ones, she was very well put together. And if you're going to do a TikTok and stuff and you want to look nice, I get that. But this one, she's like super angry and aggressive, just terrible. I hope you had a good vacation, little Redo. Little Miss Sharon says, oh, I do too with Little Miss Sharon. I pet them all. I pet all the dogs. I pet all of them. I love seeing them. There was one at Walmart the one day, and she was so cute. Like, she had her hair done and everything. It was like, she was adorable. I was like, can I pet your dog? And some of those dogs are so cute when they get their hair done. They know it, and they walk around strutting their stuff. Oh, good night. Good night, Ann. Thank you for being here. Cece, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Better late than never. We're kind of just getting into it. I only played a little bit so far, and I showed a couple of text messages. But yeah, in Lily and Jack Sullivan's case. But again, we just don't know really what to think, especially when he's telling the news outlets that he doesn't know the results of the test, but then he's telling people in chats that he does know that everyone passed. It's very odd, and it's off-putting. It's frustrating because they're still out there somewhere, whether they're being hidden. Although I don't think that theory works for me as well, especially given how long it's been. If Malaya just wanted to get away from Daniel, why wouldn't she just leave? It's not like she took her daughter that she has in common with him away from him. That theory would make us believe that she's taking her own children away from Daniel. So that's interesting to me. And I don't think that she would go that route. I think if she was going to do anything in that regard with the children, she would have done it with Meadow. But now she's lost all the children are gone of hers, and according to Daniel, he hasn't seen his other kids either. So it's just a very big mess. And then we have family members coming out and talking, and people that know the family, and which is a good thing. But it's definitely a mess, right? And then the mention of abuse in these cases really sends up a red flag, in my opinion. And the reason why is because we see that quite often in these cases. So, like I said before, I really wanted to know all of your thoughts, because I think it was more of an old-fashioned thing, in my opinion, right? And that's what this person who was on Justin who did the call in was trying to explain, right? So let's just get that out of the way and again, I don't think that it helps at all. I don't think that there's any lesson to be learned in it, but I want to know what you all think, because I think if somebody gets a pop on the butt, it's a little bit different than somebody getting hit in the face or something like that, or repeated swats, or a belt being used is probably not great, right? So was he doing it with an open hand? If say one of the children was acting up, he would pop him on the butt really fast and be like, hey, don't do that. Was it a pop on the hand? What was it? Because I will say that Daniel seems to keep his composure, and he does seem mild-mannered. That's what this guy says. But then again, we never know what truly happens behind closed doors until after something happens behind them that one person or the other says, okay, enough is enough, right? Um, Something gives and someone leaves. And that's what the caller was saying, was that, if Daniel would raise his voice, which he did do, then Malaya, it would send her into a panic, or it would give her a flashback possibly of what she endured before. And that's very common, especially, say, if you've been hit and somebody, you know, like comes at you fast or does something sudden around you, it will cause that reaction if you do in fact have PTSD. So this is alleged. She was not diagnosed to my knowledge with this. Oh my goodness, I am Two Bear. I'm glad you're here. I am Two Bear says, I'm about done with true crime. The kids just hurt my heart. The world has gone nuts. It really has. And, the thing I was thinking about earlier today, too, it's just really rough because until something bad happens, there's nothing we can do about it, right? Even if we see the warning signs, it's very difficult to prevent some of these things, right? It's very unfortunate. I know, yeah, little Redo, exactly. We would miss seeing you. We would miss seeing you. I am Two Bear. Yeah, we need good people in true crime, though. It is overwhelming. I agree. Little Miss Sharon says it's really overwhelming. Overwhelming, it is, and it's every day it's something new, and every day it's a new example of what else is going on. What is happening. So it's really too bad. Hey, Meow, good to see you. Hey, Prayer Warrior, good to see you. It is horrible and heart-wrenching. I know. And it makes you mad, like today I was so mad when I was watching the coverage on little Claire. I was so mad, and I'm looking through some of this stuff. I got a lot of stuff to show you guys with that. And it's just like, as the more I'm looking through things, the more I'm like, this is really a horrible case of this mother basically using coercive control to probably carry out and this is all alleged in my opinion, but to carry out this plan to just leave her daughter in a ditch. Oh well, here you go. Or she ended up there. At least she probably couldn't make it any further. But she tells her to stay and I'll be back. It's too horrific. And anybody that wants to argue that didn't happen, look, the 3-year-old came up and told the authorities that. She said, my mommy's going to come back for me. She's holding the lunchbox. Mom's coming back for me. So she thought her mom was coming back for her. We do need more successful outcomes. I am Two Bear. I agree. And although that one was saved, what did that crazy mom do up until that till then? I agree. And I think there's a lot to be said about, the way that Claire was able to be found, because what they did with the mother is they kept her ass in custody and they got the truth out of her. And I do think that that's what happened. And I do think that it will unfold. But there were a couple of little foreshadowing. There was a bit of foreshadowing that brought me to that conclusion, because in the news, and I'll show you guys the clips, they got it out of her. They had to have gotten it out of her, and she told finally what she did with Claire. And I think Claire needs justice. And somebody hit Claire, or she fell and hurt herself because she's got a black eye, right? When we see her in the photo. And I put it in the video, so I don't want to re-show it again, but, and I'll probably be blurring her out. my biggest problem is that I don't think it's right to act like the ugly things that happened didn't happen. Because if we do that, then all it's going to do is cause more of it, right? Because we're sweeping it under the rug. Oh, that didn't happen to Claire. Oh, no. We can't show her face. We can't show what really the real condition she was in. I understand little Claire is a person and she deserves her privacy. Her dad deserves to have the privacy for her as well, in my opinion. And it's according to what I know, that's who's asking for it, for us to do that. So I'm going to do that moving forward. But I think it's really important to spread awareness because we saw the mental health breaks and we saw the progression, right, with the TikTok videos. We saw the very one-sided relationship. We never saw, little Claire in any of the TikToks except for the last one, where she was being used, in my opinion, as a weapon upon. And even though I truly care about people and their struggles, I do. I would really like to focus on more of what we could have what we could have possibly seen here, the red flags that maybe a parent that is seeing this and the other parent might be able to take it to the authorities. Again, it's so hard because if you're divorced from someone or if you're separated, the courts might think that you're trying to be vindictive if you bring in some of these things, and it can be very difficult. Little Claire is so lucky to be alive, Cece. She is so lucky. And her mother is really, really lucky too. She's real lucky too. Because, I mean, like I said, I don't know what happened with the little dog or whatnot. But I do know that he could have met some of, a terrible destiny. Either way, he's not here. Sasha says, I hope they lock her up and throw away the key. Yeah, well, hey, Sasha, good to see you. They said there were going to be more charges are probable. And I think they should too. I think she deserves to get attempted murder because you're just leaving her out there, right? And then you told her that you were going to come back, but she never came back. And then she ended up somehow, walking towards the road, probably trying to find someone because she knew that she wasn't going to survive, right? But her survival kicked in. I have a clip from an expert in here too, and I just want to say that I really believe that she's proved her resilience, and I think that she's going to be just fine. But that's not the point. The point and the principle is that her mother was all about herself, making these freaking godforsaken TikTok videos, embarrassing the hell out of herself, and then she turns around and pulls this shit while being rough with her. I don't know, Sasha. I don't know, Sasha. Hey, Cinderella. I was not so nice earlier when, I was thinking of some of the things because I heard that she, like Kai says, she's in the ditch. She's in the ditch, and I was like, that's it for me. You know what? I feel sorry for who? What, the little beautiful Claire? Yeah, that's the one. Justice for Claire. Because I was wondering if she left her with the farmer or something like that, and that was going to come out. I was trying to go lighter, but there's a lot of things that we need to discuss in this, right? I mean, she didn't even have shoes on, right? Yeah, go sit by the road. You're pretty awesome. We'll pick you up. I'm jealous. I'm a jealous mommy. Sasha, I'm like, what in the world? What are people thinking? It makes absolutely no sense to do that. And like I said, the only logical reason I can see by looking at the TikToks and everything like that would be that she was trying to deliberately either hurt the father or get his attention, and in her, delusional, crazy mind, thinking like, oh, if I do this, then he's going to come back and I can make it seem like, we're supposed to be this happy family. But the weirdest things about that is Carly Russell. Exactly. I am too bare. I was trying to think of her name the other night because we were talking, or yesterday, because we were talking about Sherry Papini. And I was like, who's the other girl that did the hoax? Carly Russell. Yeah. Thank you. I am too bare. See, that's why you can't leave true crime right there. But I wanted to pull these in. Okay. So this is Dad, right? And he's a nice looking guy, right? And he's a chef. This is his portfolio that he has on Instagram. So it looks really good, right? And it's like caviar and all kinds of like really high end. And then I looked at the restaurant, that he was tagged in and stuff. So seems like a really like normal guy. I'm just gonna put it out there. He doesn't seem like a threat. So I was very relieved. And I was like, well, he's into culinary arts. So I, went to his Facebook page as well, and I pulled in a couple of photos. But I mean, this is enough to just make you like, want to go eat a bunch of food. His food that he made. So there's that. And I was thinking that maybe they met at a restaurant since they were both in the industry. So he did study in a culinary arts academy, right? And then it kind of shows that he married Rachel Todd, or excuse me, that he's married to Rachel Todd. Now, it was said that they were separated, but maybe not. Maybe it was an on again, off again relationship. A lot of times toxic relationships are that way, and abusive relationships are that way. You make up, you break up, and the cycle is vicious. So it's a possibility, but that's an octopus back there. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But then we also see this where they were, because I know it was hard to get a timeline. They got engaged October of 2021. Right? But he still has her stuff on his page. So I was like, is he afraid to take it down? Or, does he still have a love for her? That's the mother of his child. Something like that. But I thought it was interesting because whenever I went over to Rachel Todd's page, it was locked down, but it didn't mention Matthew Bell at all. And I really get the feeling of this one-sided relationship then, because his says, married to Rachel Todd since August 5th, 2023. So they were engaged for a couple of years, and then they got married. And you can see in the TikTok kind of the yo-yo back and forth and some of her frustrations possibly. But he's the only one that has mentions of her on the Facebook. She doesn't have mentions of him. And so it really confused me when I was trying to figure out their dynamic, because this is Rachel's page and she doesn't say anything about herself or anything. Like, he's very proud in his Instagram, and he should be. And maybe they're not as active on Facebook. Some people aren't. But I just found some of these to be interesting based on the timeline. Now, that brings us to all of a sudden this woman acting disoriented and confused and going into a souvenir shop that is her vehicle parked outside. And this is where she tells the authorities that her daughter is missing. But when we watch the newscast, we're going to figure out that she had a lot of traveling she must have done that day, and I'm sure she used this vehicle to do it. So it probably isn't hard. And then this is just something silly that I wanted to bring in, because when I was looking at Matt Bell, I saw that his page had a Naruto character, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And so I pulled that in just for us to look at, because, you know, Sebastian loves Naruto. But he seems like a nice guy. And I will say, from my research, which it wasn't like, you know, so in depth, it's not like I'm trying to, you know, profile this guy. Poor guy. But again, I just kind of want to show the contrast between parents. And I wanted to show you guys that, you know, this is a guy that it looks like this beautiful child is in good hands with him, with Claire. I do think that after doing a little bit of research. And I pray that she is going to get the services that she needs, counseling that she needs, in order to, you know, come out of this on the other end. She's already done a wonderful job of survival. She's shown us how resilient she is. She's just a little rock star. So, I mean, she's a warrior, you know. Hey, Juicy Jules, good to see you. I know. Jules, thanks. It's a lot. It's a lot. You know, and it does. It breaks my heart. Hey, Kathy Bartholomew, good to see you. And welcome in, everyone. Thanks for coming in. Even everybody in the bushes, too. Good to see you guys. Hey, Peggy. So, yeah, a lot to kind of look at there. You know, toxic relationships, and gentlemen, you know, this bud's for you, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys. If you see this lady, like, don't be dating people like this. You know, look at the TikToks, and then, you know, maybe come back and say, oh, wow, okay, this is who I don't want to be around, right? Because very toxic behavior. And it's the children who bear the brunt of it the most. And again, I don't know if this poor guy was keeping that stuff on his page so that way she wouldn't go crazy. I don't know if maybe recently he had a love interest and didn't, you know, want to continue on with the shenanigans with her. I don't know. And maybe we'll find out, and maybe we won't. But I just have a really bad feeling that this guy was put through the ringer by this woman. And so much so, it reminded me of the Courtney Clenny case, right? That was a really triggering case for me. And I'm not going to lie, there have been many times that I've rolled my eyes and thought, oh yeah, the guy, you know, this guy's being abused by this girl. Yeah, okay. You know, and I was wrong, because I mean, we watched the Courtney Clenny case, and she killed her partner. Didn't get him the help, and he was begging for her to. Absolutely sick. And then we see this case, and I'm just wondering, you know, was it an on and off again? And then maybe he found someone else and she snapped, because I mean, she certainly puts this like rotten TikTok up, and you know, just where, I mean, she's acting really scary with his daughter, and I don't know if it was directed toward him or not, but it seems that way to me. Aw, thanks, Juicy Jules. Aw, thank you. This dress is really, really comfortable. This is a good summery kind of a dress. It's hot here. It's like super hot and humid. Aw, thanks, Loretto. We destroy kids' lives club. I really hope not, Sasha. You know, that's like my biggest prayer for Claire is that she just kind of pops back from this, and she very well could. We're going to hear from an expert, and I am no expert, but I will say that she's just so resilient that I was really I'm just really surprised, you know, and glad, you know, happy that she was found. So, but let's watch this first clip that I have here.
You try that again, and this is gonna get ugly.
Police say she spent more than 3 days and nights alone in the heat and humidity beside Highway 417 in eastern Ontario after being left there with no food and no water.
She's in the ditch. She was lying in the ditch.
Captain Benoit Richard says the 3-year-old Montreal girl was spotted by an Ontario Provincial Police drone lying in tall grass that would have made her hard to spot from the road. Officers then rushed to her.
She put her hands up and she was talking with the officers.
Richard says OPP officers quickly gave her mangoes and Gatorade. Small children are particularly susceptible to heat stroke and dehydration.
Not having water for 3 days can be critical and can be lethal.
On Sunday, the 3-year-old was last seen around 9:45 a.m. with her mother and pet chihuahua in Montreal near their home. Almost 6 hours later, her mother reported her missing 50 kilometers west in Coteau-du-Lac. Monday, the dog was discovered dead on the side of a highway. The girl's mother was arrested and charged with child abandonment. On Wednesday, police announced new information. The pair had been seen Sunday afternoon by an Eastern Ontario farmer. Investigators narrowed their search and the girl was found along a highway at 2 p.m. in a rural area of Ontario about 150 kilometers west of Montreal.
The level of fear that she must have experienced must have been quite intense.
Dr. Nafisa Ismail says at 3 years old, the girl will have the capacity to remember what happened.
How impactful that's going to be on her physical health, on her mental health, will depend on the environment that she finds herself in going forward.
She says that while each child is unique, kids that experience intense trauma at a young age can grow up with deep psychological scars.
These children have issues then forming new relationships, trusting relationships.
Authorities are now asking the media and the public to stop broadcasting the girl's name and image so she can regain her anonymity. Her 34-year-old mother has a court appearance Friday morning as she faces child abandonment charges. Dan Spector, Global News, Montreal.
34-year-old Rachel Ella Todd appeared before a judge at the Valleyfield courthouse. She was wearing a red shirt and looked around the courtroom several times. Her bail hearing was set for Wednesday, but it's been postponed. Another hearing will be held Friday. The prosecution says at that point the defense can present its intentions. It's not clear when the next bail hearing will be held. The prosecution objects to Todd's release.
The investigation is still ongoing, and for the safety of the public, for the administration of the justice, we object for now.
Todd nodded several times while the judge spoke to her. The Crown says a request has not been made to determine if Todd is apt to stand trial.
Not the Crown, not the defense, not the judge has for decide if she's fit to trial. It's for now she is.
She is facing one charge of abandoning a child. Lawyer Eric Sutton, who has no connection to the case, says depending on how the case develops, more charges could follow.
I'd be surprised if it finishes with a simple charge of child abandonment. I think it's really a starting point. I'd be very surprised if there aren't further charges.
Rachel Ella Todd will remain detained. She is expected back in court for her next hearing on Friday.
Okay, guys, so basically she is fit for trial, and she's just charged right now with abandoning her child. More charges could come up, possibly. This lawyer that they pulled in as an expert said that he believes that it's probably a situation where this is a starting off point, and the more the investigation finds, the more likely that the charges will be brought, if there are any to be brought. So that's what he said. But she left her out there for 3 days, right? And then they found her lying in a ditch. Pet cruelty, Juicy Jules. Absolutely. Absolutely. That should be something else. I'm surprised they haven't done that one yet. Child endangerment, GM twins. Yeah. And I think child abuse, right? I think she should be charged with abusing her child. Because, and I know, guys, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I really am not. How'd she get the black eye? Where'd she get that shiner from? You know, so it looks like somebody hit her. No food or water for 3 days, G of twins. Yeah, 3 days that she could have remedied it. She really could have. And I really do believe that she eventually talked. I do think that. I really do. Because after they find the dog, all of a sudden, they arrest her, and I think she started telling them a little bit more, Yeah, possibly attempted murder. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Absolutely. And I know that a child is different than a pet, right? But she just left the dog out there like that. So leaving her child out there like that, it's really, miraculous that she's with us, right? That she's alive. I can't even imagine how her dad feels. I bet I wouldn't be able to take my eyes off of the child. I don't know that I would sleep again ever, because, oh my gosh. And the Ontario police drone found her lying there in the ditch. And she got up and was talking with the officers right away. They gave her mangoes and Gatorade, but absolutely having no water out there, lethal. As hot as it was, I mean, her little lips were chapped. I mean, Cece, I don't know. There's just no. I've lost a lot of compassion. I'll just say that with this, because animal cruelty, yes. And then the position of trust comes in for me, and that's a big time one, in my opinion. Because yes, Little Red, this poor child could have trust issues. This is what the expert says, right? That, children that go through this type of a trauma or immense trauma can have psychological scars and trust issues. And in this, the most horrible part is that we don't know what was happening to Claire Bell behind closed doors. Again, this could have been something that was going on for a very, very long time. She was probably scared out of her wits of her mother, because she knows, when her mommy's going to act out, I mean, and she probably realizes that if she does anything that her mom doesn't like, then it's not going to be good for her. GM Twin says he's probably asking her questions. I wonder if she was with someone and then they dropped her off when they saw all the media on it. That's a strong possibility, and I know they were looking for that lady that was wearing the apron with abundance, and apparently that was the person who spotted them at the farm. That it's all very strange. But I do think that Claire is smart enough to let us know what happened to her, and at least let the authorities rather know what happened to her once she feels more comfortable. And sometimes that even takes the form of the forensic interviews and things like that, where the children will be watched as they're playing and the interviewer will take notes. And we know about those different techniques that they use to kind of help the children show what had happened to them. In those evaluations, just like with Harmony Montgomery, her mother was saying, can you imagine hearing that your child was doing these things with these dolls and acting out the bad things that were happening to her? So I think that they may do that with Claire. I don't know. But I think good therapy and that sort of thing, and then moving forward, I don't like to say this, but I just don't think that she needs to be around her mom. That's my opinion. It's just not safe. I Am Two Bear says, can you imagine how long a dark night is to a 3-year-old? Oh my gosh, it must have felt like forever. And then also just being so hot and thirsty during the day, and then it's cool at night, but then it's scary, Oh my gosh, I Am Two Bear. Well, Red says you're not trying to be an asshole, but you're right. What and how did she get a black eye like that? Yeah. I mean, and her eye was swollen shut. And so that happening, and I'm not saying her mother did that. Maybe she fell or something. Famous words of a person who was abused, right? I walked into the door, I fell, no, but yeah, it makes me wonder that if she was hit before she was left, maybe she was crying and her mom popped her one. I don't know. But that's pretty bad. 3 days later, almost 4 days later. They really are showing their true colors nowadays. My goodness. And I mean, she was all over TikTok doing this, Cece, I foresee abandonment issues that will probably last for the rest of her life. I mean, that's another aspect, right? Trust issues, abandonment, like, please don't leave, right? Because, like, that's so scary and, like, legit, I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. And she doesn't deserve that. She does not deserve that. Dehydration can take a child really quickly, yes. And also just the extreme heat, they can't regulate their body temperatures, like so much. Like, she is a miracle. She is an absolute miracle, this little one right here, Claire. Prayer warrior, if she saw her mom in a manic state, she's going to have a lot to heal from. Manic episodes can be very scary, in my opinion. Thank you, prayer warrior. And I agree. I think that there's more to this, right? And the terror of this situation is maybe even not as bad as some of the things that she endured before this. And then she's left out like this. That can definitely contribute to some issues. And, I will say this, though. I think that if she's given the opportunity, she'll be able to heal, and maybe she'll be able to advocate for others, or maybe some good will come out of this. So I think that there is a silver lining in the clouds. And I think that even though we didn't think that she would make it, because I was one of the people that thought, oh my gosh, her mom did something bad to her. When I saw the TikTok, I thought, oh my gosh, she's violent with her, right? She's rough. Like, what is she doing? Who is she talking to? All of that crossed my mind. And then it was like, I'm flipping through YouTube and it's like update, or breaking news from Justin. He says she's been found. Little Clara's been found, and I was like, oh my gosh! And so I ran over there, and I was so excited that they found her, and it was great news. And so I think that she's gonna be okay as long as she gets the help, and then as long as people don't continuously bring it up. Hopefully it's a speedy trial. Hopefully, I heard there was like some sort of a max sentence of 5 years, and I think that I think that they should charge her with other things like the animal cruelty. Absolutely. I mean, you're a crazy man. That's just yeah, we just don't know how she's going to process it all. But it's amazing the healing that you can do once you're safe in a situation. I think that we see resilience all the time, and just because you have issues doesn't mean that it's all bad, right? It's about how we deal with it. G of Twins says, not trying to be difficult, but a 3-year-old probably wouldn't stay in one place unless she was severely threatened. Isn't there wildlife out there? Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of too, G of Twins, because, it's kind of scary that she did stay in the area and didn't venture out to the road on the first day, or, after the first night and being like, oh my gosh, that was so scary, and her just like venturing out, right? But that shows how much power and control her mother must have had over her if she did in fact stay in the general area of where her mother said stay put, and she stayed put. I mean, that's really something. That's really something psychologically, where I think, again, a mother being in this position of trust, she should be in bigger trouble for, that little girl sitting there or sticking around the same area. Because I will say that she probably had to maybe move a little bit, because I'm sure there were times where she was in direct sunlight and she maybe had to get out and then get into a shady spot or something like that. But she very well could have stayed in one spot. She very well could have ventured away just a little bit, but she obviously didn't venture away that much because she was found where her mom left her. From what we know now. Her other eye looked really, really good, Sasha. I will say that. From somebody that's had a lot of shiners, again, the psychological part of it, which you can't see, is always there, but her black eye will heal. It'll heal. Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's black and blue though, CC, like her little eye. I should have pulled in like a closer spot. It looked like they kind of deliberately put a curl over her eye or something like that. Like, I don't know. They were kind of trying to hide some of it, right? They cropped in the picture, and I understand why. But, public outrage is kind of a good thing when you're trying to get more charges on somebody. SI officer says, same. I can't, but I will follow SWDR case and see it through, but my heart can't take this darkness. It is so dark, SI officer. Yeah, it is. It's completely dark. She's a dark, twisted soul, this one. You know what I mean? That thing needs to stay off the streets. She blinds children. Well, and see, that's the thing. Even the no one said that she should get out. Everybody thinks she should be kept in jail. and that and everybody also agrees that she's fit to stand trial, right? So there's that. And leaves them for dead. I mean, that's what she did with this poor baby. Hey, Babs, good to see you. Yeah, I'm shocked too. You know what I'm more shocked about too? Prayer Warrior says, I was very shocked she was found basically okay too. I was also equally shocked about the fact that she, like, I mean, come on, she's not even going to try to say she was crazy. I thought she was in there all disoriented and confused, and she's not going to try to be like, I was insane, or I didn't know what I was doing, or I, didn't take my meds that day, or whatever. I don't know. It seems like, and I was trying to find an update, but I couldn't find it, any updates. Oh, hey Peggy, thank you for your super chat. I just noticed. Thank you. She says, "Crazy, lock her up." I think she needs to be locked up, Peggy. I do. I do, and for other, reasons, right? Because there was a lot of things that she did that day that were absolutely dangerous, scary, toxic. Well, 25 years, Sasha says, for attempted murder, no possibility for parole to the door. I mean, I don't see how they couldn't see it that way. I just don't. Not after everything we've kind of witnessed here and everything like that. Little Red says, I feel like somebody put her there once it was all over the news. I can't imagine a 3-year-old still, people would have seen her. What about bugs? Yeah, absolutely. The lady who owned the farm where she was found near there said that she did spot them on Sunday. And, I mean, I don't know what that encounter all entailed, but when I look at this picture, when I first saw this picture, there we go. I mean, I looked at the picture and I was like, her hair's really clean for being out there for 3 days, it appears that way anyway. But then again, when we look at the other picture, we see, how she doesn't have clean clothes on or anything, I mean, this is really, really bad. She definitely looks sunburned, like she was outside. Her little face looks sunburned. But she had to have found some sort of a safe spot to go to, in my opinion. Hey, Shadow. Yeah, LE that found her will definitely testify. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely hear more. I don't know if if they televise their court. I'm not sure. She does. Cece, I agree. Mom needs a psych evaluation and the heaviest of charges. I agree. Absolutely. And they said she was nodding a lot, yeah, we don't know what she was doing on a daily basis, Prayer Warrior. And it's so sad to think about it. She looks terrified in the TikTok video. She definitely can feel the tension. Babies can feel that stuff. Cece says that the color of the bruise would show if Mom did it 3 days prior or if Claire may have injured herself, but I didn't see any scratches or cuts that would go along with falling herself. Exactly, Cece. That's a great point. That's a great point. And we know it wasn't the same shirt that she was wearing in the TikTok video. It's different. But the clothes didn't match up either, though. I will say that. So, what she was said to be wearing when she was missing. And of course, we're basing that off of, again, a parent, and what they want us to believe, or what they're saying it is, right? But she said, what we thought she was wearing when she left was a white shirt with a red collar and gray pants. But this, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see a red collar there. So I saw one from Sasha. Well, if she gets released, she probably won't be around long, my opinion. Well, you never know. I don't know how strict they are there. I don't, Sasha. And Bab says, although very sad and scary for Claire, probably the best thing to happen for Claire's little life and her future. That is such a true statement, Babs. Thank you for that. Absolutely, right? So she miraculously survived her momster. And I think she's going to do really well. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling, but I think she's going to do well. Bab says, I think she was out there at least for 2 days. Yeah, and we never know. I mean, if somebody else was involved, it's not like they're going to come out and tell us, so there very well could be others involved in this. Now, she might be squawking like a stool pigeon, but that doesn't mean that others are going to come give themselves up. Cece says, Little Redo, I feel the same way about Sebastian. So frustrating. Nobody has been held accountable for missing human whom I am positive did not go missing on his own. Cece, that's a great point. And, I couldn't help but bring that in because I really do believe that because of the swift police work in this case and the authorities finding a reason to arrest this woman, getting her in and making her tell what was going on, I really do think that contributed to Claire's being found. I don't think she would have been if it was treated like Claire just walked away on her own. I mean, it's just not hard. Prayer Warrior says supposedly the farm lady called in a tip saying that she saw her and the other stated helping her look. Then the drones found her. Yeah, so she maybe that lady heard about it, Prayer Warrior, you're saying, and she called it in that she remembered seeing them on Sunday. And then they found her with the drones. Yeah. Her hair is bleached and she's burnt really bad. Yeah. She is. And like I said, she might have been able to find some kind of, shade, or, being smart, she lied down where it was cooler, right, to get some relief. Yeah, the crazy lady gave us the info about the clothing. Consider the source. Right, Prayer Warrior? Oh, gosh, Yeah, Bab says she could have been dropped off there and told to wait on her mommy to pick her back up. That's what she said. She said, Mommy told me to wait here and she's going to come get me, kind of a thing, according to the news. Well, the only reason I don't think it's the same shirt is because, look. Whoopsie daisy. Look at the sleeve. That one doesn't look like the other sleeve. See? You can can see it with her spoon. She's holding the spoon. There's like kind of like a little, I don't even know what to call it, a cuff or something on that shirt. But the one she was found in doesn't appear to have that. So hey, Poppy Love. Yeah, Sumner County needs lessons from this LE agency. Absolutely. You know, get that mother in there. She knows where her baby is. Especially if they looked into her, you know, phone or anything like that, they would have figured it out immediately, right? All the driving she did. Cece says, I have thought that others participated in this because the odds of this child surviving on her own is next to impossible, but miracles sometimes happen. I know. I'm as confused as you are, Cece, to be honest with you. I've been speculating and trying to figure it out, but I will say, gosh, if she legitimately, if her mother said, hey, stay put, and she did, and she survived this mess, oh my. You know, and I think it's kind of pointing in that direction, especially because, yeah, if the lady called the tip in, if that was the tip that got him there, I don't know, though. I think maybe the mom started talking. Because you know how they can hold that crap over your head if you're sitting in jail and they're like, do you want more charges or do you just want the abandonment charge? Because we could charge you with all this stuff, but, you know, you better start telling us the truth. And, you know, if we find her alive, you're going to be better off. I mean, that's what I would be saying to her if I was the detective. I don't know if they're allowed to do that kind of stuff. I don't know the rules there, but I will say I'm sure they would use that as leverage. I mean, in my opinion. So I've never seen the dad of Kaylee Anthony ever, Sasha, come to think of it. I don't think I have ever laid eyes on that guy. Yeah, no red, right? I didn't see any red. So that's kind of weird because that's different. So maybe somebody, you know, did have her for a day and changed her clothes. I mean, like I said, her hair doesn't look terribly dirty. It looks like when you've been in the sun, sometimes it'll kind of lighten your hair. Definitely looks that way in the TikTok picture. And then this one, the one that we see her. My daughter's hair used to do that in the summer. Hey, Sammy G. I'm curious about the lunchbox and what was in it too. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, I don't know why, but it makes me curious to see her lunchbox and what was in it. And maybe she did have a little bit of water or something like that, you know, in the lunchbox. Yeah, because there had to have been something in there. I mean, you know, what did she leave her with? You know, the goldfish crackers or, you know, I'm just trying to think of a 3-year-old snack. And, remember what a miracle Elizabeth Smart was. Yes, absolutely, Babs. You know, people survive. It's amazing. It's amazing how resilient we are. And here's her mother boo-hooing. I'm so fragile. I'll never find love. Blah, blah, blah. Big old baby. You know, look at this little girl. Hey, Mama Bear. Mama Bear says it's strange. It's strange that there's no media updates about Rachel still in jail. Is she, the tip LE said that they got led to Clarabelle. Did mom cut a deal? See, this is what I'm wondering, Mama Bear. Thank you. I mean, I'm considering some of this stuff too, right? Because it's like, we haven't heard an update. I kept looking. I did before I came up. I was like, is there anything going on? You know, did they put any information out? And they really haven't. So I'm wondering. And, you know, I hope they make it a long road for her if they did cut her a deal. in terms of maybe telling her, hey, you're going to need to go through counseling, and you're going to, I don't know, an ankle monitor. I'm afraid for the safety of the father. I really am. And, you know, I just am. It's very reminiscent of Courtney Clenny. It's very reminiscent of this domestic violence, you know, that we see. It's okay. That's right. Perfectly a perfect boy, Mom. Thank you. She did never say who the dad was, right? Yeah, who the father of her daughter was. Yeah. Yeah, Cece says that too. Yeah. That's very possible, Sasha, that her clothes were changed, maybe where she left her, because there may have been like blood and stuff from, and it's so hard to tell if there's a logo on her shirt. It appears to be, or is that like dirt and mud and stuff like that? Sammy says, I don't know if it's true, but the news said today, police confirmed that she was out there for 3 days and 3 nights with no food and water, right? Yeah. There was, it was on the verge of dehydration, maybe was in your clip, Lady Freedom. Yeah. And then they found her in the ditch, you know? So I'm thinking that, like, she emerged from wherever she was on the farm and, like, made it to the road. But she was lying in the ditch. Yeah, and they said she was dehydrated, and then they also said that she didn't have any food or water. But what was in the lunchbox, you know? That's what makes me so curious about what was in the lunchbox. Yeah, that's what it says, Mama Bear. Somebody called in a tip. Claire was not randomly miraculously found by the drone. Someone gave a location. Who gave LE that tip? Yes, because, and I do have that in the clip here, the next clip, Mama Bear, absolutely. Here, I'll play it, because that's what leads me to believe that she had to have said something to law enforcement. Okay, here we go.
The girl's father, Matthew Bell, reacted on Instagram Wednesday night, thanking those who helped find his daughter. Thank you for everyone's help. Please allow me and my family to take this time with our girl, he posted. While the young girl recovers from the ordeal, her mother remains behind bars after being charged with child abandonment. Let's watch.
She was alone on the side of Highway 417 in St. Albert, east of Ottawa. That's about 100 kilometers away from where she was reported missing in Coteau-de-Lac, Quebec. Police say the girl was conscious and able to speak and was doing well.
This search proves that when a child goes missing, there are no interprovincial boundaries. There is only one goal: to find them.
I agree. It's of the utmost importance to find the child right away to make sure they're safe. But then again, we also have to make sure that we take the last person who was with the child and question them relentlessly until we find the child. Thank you to those who did that in this case. Otherwise, Claire Bell may not be with us.
Investigators received a tip that led them to a farm in St. Albert. Ontario Provincial Police drones combed the area where they found the girl. The toddler's discovery came just minutes after her mother appeared in court facing a charge of child abandonment. Her bail hearing was delayed, and she could face additional charges.
And they say they had more than 7 million visits to their website, applauding both the public and media for helping push out as much information as possible, meaning there were eyes and ears both near and far to help with this search. As you mentioned, police say just the best possible outcome, that she was able to be found safe and alive. 4 days of searching, investigators say that major clue came on Wednesday that allowed them to focus on the area where she was located, roughly 50 kilometers from the Quebec border, spotted, as you mentioned, by a drone operated by Ontario Police along an on-ramp for Highway 417. And as you said, she was found conscious and was able to speak to officers. She was given food and water right away and taken to hospital for further checks. The news of her discovery came as a huge relief to people across the country closely following updates to this case, and in particular, including neighbors in the area where the child lived.
I think it's amazing that the little girl is back. Actually, I think everyone in the condo was really afraid and scared for her. So it's really a relief that she's safe and sound.
As a grandfather, I'm very happy. I am a grandfather of a little baby. A little baby of 14 months. So I would be very shy to lose my little daughter, and so I'm very happy. It's very strange. It's a strange story, you know. The kid was living around here, and they found the kid in Ontario.
The young girl was reported missing under unclear circumstances. Her mother allegedly entered a store west of Montreal on Sunday and said that she could not find her child. The mother, 34-year-old Rachel Todd, was arrested Monday evening and has since been charged with unlawful abandonment of a child. She remains in custody. Her case was adjourned until Friday to set a date for a bail hearing. Really such a relief for so many people who had been keenly interested and keenly following this case, hoping for the best possible outcome.
If it wasn't for the public's help and the awareness that was brought by them and the media, I don't believe that we would have had a positive outcome here. As more information emerges, it's very clear to me that this mother deserves to be charged with child abuse. She also deserves to be charged with attempted murder. She left her daughter Claire in the extreme heat and humidity, and she was found in a ditch. She left Claire for dead, promising her that mommy will be back. Let's not forget Hazel, the dog, who was not so lucky. Join me live for the discussion tonight.
Okay, guys, so, I don't think a three-year-old that has gone through all that trauma would be able to have the wherewithal to lie at that time. You know what I mean? That's just kind of my take on things. So Sammy G says one of them said that she was lying in tall grass where she would not have otherwise been seen by land or cars. Sometimes other lunchbox or something on her lunchbox caught the attention of the drone. I don't know about the tip. Yeah, there was a tip, is what they said, and I think I played it earlier. I apologize. But yeah, so there was a tip allegedly called in. Allegedly. But I agree that they said that she was lying in the tall grass, and I don't know if that was to kind of get some rest. Like, had she walked all the way up there and then she lied down? Was she so exhausted that she was near overexertion? A lot of things could happen. But thanks, Sammy. Yeah, so they may have seen something reflected off of something reflective. A lot of times the lunch boxes will be really brightly colored. A Perfect Boy Mom says it looks like a design on her t-shirt. The bottom says Little Dreamer, but it looks too small, like closer to sleeves or too short. That's what I was trying to decipher, because like 3/4 length sleeves, or like these sleeves are kind of long. If I make them longer, they'll go down, you know what I mean, 3/4 length or something. But I was wondering that too, because these look like full on, all the way over to your right hand side of the screen where she's holding the spoon. Those look full, right? The sleeves. But this one looks, 3/4 length. Or, like you said perfectly in Perfect Boy Mom, too small. Oh, there we go. Like the shirt doesn't quite fit her. And if she stood up, you can kind of see in the back even that if she stood up, that it's an ill-fitting shirt. I agree. I think it is an ill-fitting shirt. Hey, C. Taylor, good to see you. Aw, thank you, Mama Bear. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. Wait, was the bail hearing today, or was that another day? Yeah, the bail hearing was today, Prayer Warrior. It was today, and we still haven't heard anything back about it. So it remains to be seen. Mama Bear, thank you. Yeah, that's the city that Claire lived in LaSalle, Quebec, a suburb of Montreal, and she was found in Ontario. So like the gentleman at the end there, he really got it right. He was spot on. He's like, this is so strange because she lives here and she was found all the way over there, right? And where she was reported missing was another spot, right? At a souvenir shop. So very odd. I think the hearing happened today, but we haven't heard anything about it, C. Taylor. So I'm wondering because, maybe she made bail and they're trying to keep it quiet, no worries, Mama Bear. So it's interesting. Well, see, I thought maybe she did leave the dog with Claire for comfort, but they weren't found in the same spot. So it's so interesting, it really is. Let me play this one really quick too. I'll play this one that I played earlier, and it's going to kind of show the map of kind of the timeline in the map, and we'll see like where the dog was.
The girl's father, Matthew Bell, reacted on Instagram.
You try that again, and this is gonna get ugly.
Police say she spent more than 3 days and nights alone in the heat and humidity beside Highway 417 in eastern Ontario after being left there with no food and no water.
She's in the ditch. She was lying in the ditch.
Captain Benoit Richard says the 3-year-old Montreal girl was spotted by an Ontario Provincial Police drone lying in tall grass that would have made her hard to spot from the road. Officers then rushed to her.
She put her hands up and she was talking with the officers.
Richard says OPP officers quickly gave her mangoes and Gatorade. Small children are particularly susceptible to heat stroke and dehydration.
Not having water for 3 days can be critical and can be lethal.
On Sunday, the 3-year-old was last seen around 9:45 a.m. with her mother and pet Chihuahua in Montreal near their home. Almost 6 hours later, her mother reported her missing 50 kilometers west in Coteau-du-Lac. Monday, the dog was discovered dead on the side of a highway. The girl's mother was arrested and charged with child abandonment. On Wednesday, police announced new information. The pair had been seen Sunday afternoon by an Eastern Ontario farmer. Investigators narrowed their search and the girl was found along a highway at 2 p.m. in a rural area of Ontario about 150 kilometers west of Montreal.
The level of fear that she must have experienced must have been quite intense.
Dr. Nafisa Ismail says at 3 years old, the girl will have the capacity to remember what happened.
How impactful that's going to be on her physical health, on her mental health, will depend on the environment that she finds herself in going forward.
She says that while each child is unique, kids that experience intense trauma at a young age can grow up with deep psychological scars.
These children have issues then forming new relationships, trusting relationships.
Authorities are now asking the media and the public to stop broadcasting the girl's name and image so she can regain her anonymity. Her 34-year-old mother has a court appearance Friday morning as she faces child abandonment charges. Dan Spector, Global News, Montreal.
34-year-old Rachel Ella Todd appeared before a judge at the Valleyfield courthouse. She was wearing a red shirt and looked around the courtroom several times. Her bail hearing was set for Wednesday, but it's been postponed. Another hearing will be held Friday. The prosecution says at that point the defense can present its intentions. It's not clear when the next bail hearing will be held. The prosecution objects to Todd's release.
The investigation is still ongoing, and for the safety of the public, for the administration of the justice, we object for now.
Todd nodded several times while the judge spoke to her. The Crown says a request has not been made to determine if Todd is apt to stand trial.
Not the Crown, not the defense, not the judge asked for decide if she's fit to trial. It's for now she is.
She is facing one charge of abandoning a child. Lawyer Eric Sutton, who has no connection to the case, says depending on how the case develops, more charges could follow.
I'd be surprised if it finishes with a simple charge of child abandonment. I think it's really a starting point. I'd be very surprised if there aren't further charges.
Rachel Ella Todd will remain detained. She is expected back in court for her next hearing on Friday.
Okay, guys. So, yeah. So they said left beside the highway with no food or water. She was lying in the ditch when she was found in the tall grass. So 9:45 a.m. in Montreal, she was seen with her mother and their chihuahua. And then 6 hours later, her mother reported her missing by going into that souvenir shop in Coteau-du-Lac. I hope I said that right. And then the dog was found dead on the side of the road. Monday, the mother was arrested. And then 2:30 in the afternoon, Claire was found in rural Ontario, way west of Montreal, right? There was a bail hearing that was set for Wednesday when Claire was found, right? But it was postponed till Friday. So that's another little crumb or nugget that makes me think that she talked, right? Prosecution objected to her release, citing concern for public safety. And I hope if she did make bail, you know, they put her on an ankle monitor or something to make sure she doesn't go after or try to go get Claire or anything like that. Oh, so it was somebody say next Friday. I missed that. Good night, couponing. Thank you for being here. See, and I was under the assumption that it was going to be this Friday. Sammy says, Mama Bear, I wonder about that too. Heard another creator say that the dog was emmed and not hit by a car, but I haven't seen that anywhere or heard anyone else say it. That's why I was asking. See, and I'm not sure either. You know, I really am not sure about that because I have not heard the circumstances surrounding that. How you doing? Good to see you. How you doing? Thanks for being here. Yeah, because that clip, Mama Bear, was from earlier today, I believe. The one that we just watched about the hearing. That was for the past Friday. Yesterday didn't happen or rescheduled on plea deal, but media is silent. Okay, so maybe, yeah. That's very, very possible. The dog was far from Claire. He was found off the highway in a whole nother area, and then she was found all the way west of Montreal. So, and I don't believe they said in that clip which highway. I'm believing it might be that 417 highway. You know, I know. I was wondering what had happened at the court. Yeah. Today, or well, I know it's 118 here. So yesterday, technically Friday. Good night, prayer warrior. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, oh my gosh, if it was an empty lunchbox. Oh God, I hope it wasn't an empty lunchbox because that's messed up. Oh, yes. Mama Bear says, I'm so grateful that Claire was found. I hope she forgets, given warm, loving, stable arms to care for her soul, aka a lot of love. I do think she can forget through trauma starting at 2 memories at 4. I'm hoping so too. I'm hoping so too, Mama Bear. I hope she is treated the way that she deserves to be treated. There is a quote in the beginning that I play it, in the intro, and it says, "You deserve to be in an environment that brings out the softness in you and not the survival in you." And that's what I'm really hoping for Claire. She's such a beautiful little girl, isn't she? Oh my gosh. She is adorable. Just adorable. Meg says, I wonder if it was her mother who spoke of where Claire was, or if it was the farmer she had a brief encounter with where Claire was found. I know that's what we're kind of trying to figure out. You know, did this lady, the farmer, was she kind of thinking back and maybe she saw a news story and she's like, oh my gosh, that looks like the mother and daughter that I saw. You know, very possible. Very possible. But I'm thinking that maybe, they were like, we need you to talk. And, the longer you sit in here and we don't find her and she's out there, if something bad happens to her, saying things like that to her, maybe spurred her to say something. Yeah, supposed to be, but media is silent. I know, Sammy, it's just so sad. I don't think she'll ever forget her mom. No, Babs. And that's the sad part. And I don't know how often she was seeing her father or anything like that, because that makes me wonder. Just basically because of, there was that TikTok that she was saying that, she wasn't going to allow for her mother-in-law to see her daughter. And it's like, why though? That is so toxic. Unless there's a really damn good reason, why wouldn't you let the kids see their grandparents? Well, what is that? Oh, I'm sorry, Mama Bear. And see, everyone's different and we just don't know, Meg says Claire is definitely a blessed angel and strong little girl for lasting 3 days alone, days and nights. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, she was just talking away and seemingly healthy is what they said. I mean, that's what they said when they found her. Had to have been, they said no food and no water. That's what they said. And maybe they asked her, maybe they said, did you have, are you hungry? Have you eaten? And maybe she said, no, I didn't have any food, or no, I'm thirsty, Oh my gosh. Well, and that's what I'm thinking too. Maybe she did have some stuff in there and they just didn't find anything. I hope so. Gosh, I just can't imagine her out there hungry and thirsty like that. Sammy says maybe she ate the stuff for dropped it off in the lunchbox. God love her. Yeah, and then maybe she did end up eating something from there and she ran out of food, and maybe that's why she was by the road. But they said she was left by the road. Because they said they got a tip. They said they did get a tip, and it's my understanding that it was the lady from the farm lady. She could have finished whatever was in the lunchbox the first day. Yes, absolutely. Think about how hot she could have been, and like thirsty. So she's probably like, because little ones, they don't know to like, ration their resources. She has no idea to do that, Mommy's coming back. She thought mommy was coming back. And that's another thing, she thought she was coming back. She told the people that found her, my mom told me she's coming back, They gave her Gatorade and mangoes. And I thought that was probably a really good choice, the fruit and the juice and a lot of times when people are in that position where they've been starved, they eat and eat and eat so fast, and especially a kid, they can end up getting sick, and oh my gosh, ugh. I'm just so glad she's safe. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Kai Kai says, hey, lady, I just confirmed that her next bail hearing is not until July 3rd. Please check Matt Thibodeau. Oh, I just subscribed to him today. She was not given bail. Oh, thank God. Okay, so like they were saying that, like, right, citing the public safety and, everybody, and, okay, so July 3rd. Thank you so much. I subscribed to him today, but I must not have saw the video that he put up after that. Great deal. Oh, I'm so glad, because I'm scared for them too. I'm scared for the dad and the daughter. Mama Bear says, I know a lot of people have the lonely bug, and I think Rachel's lonely bug drove her Cosmo's mind mad, crazy from loneliness, a contributing factor. Yeah, I definitely picked up on that too, Mama Bear, in the beginning, and I thought, I felt for her situation, right? But then the more that I was looking, I almost think that Rachel Todd is in my opinion, a very toxic person. And she is more of someone who is a taker, right? They're just a taker. Take. They don't give. There's no give with her. Because even, looking at his Facebook, he still says he's married to her. I think maybe he did try to be there for her and maybe possibly loved her very much at some point, but realized that there wasn't very much that he could do. And the best thing that he could do is to get away from her and then give his daughter some sort of refuge when he could. I'm wondering if he wasn't initiating something through the courts, and that's why she's like, you try that again, and she's mad at somebody. I'm taking a guess that maybe that's it, but I definitely think that she felt very alone. But I think it was deeper than just loneliness, because everybody feels lonely. I mean, at some point, sometimes even when you're with someone, depending on how bad the relationship is, you could feel lonely just being with even if you are with someone. But I could see a very one-sided toxic relationship, in my opinion, and she was the one that was toxic, in my opinion. Because any of the other things that I've looked at of his have been very, typical of who he portrays himself to be, which is a chef. And he looks like a damn good one. And I'm glad he got away from her. Sammy says, then of course my first thought was who just had mangoes in the car, but I'm thinking there was probably a few minutes between drone seeing and informing and a second and third officers arriving. Yeah, you never know. It could have been somebody's lunch, Sammy. Because, I mean, to my knowledge, I don't know how long it took them to, find her after the tip. It doesn't sound like it was an extremely long period of time. But I don't know. And maybe they were keeping fruit on hand just in case they did find her, is a possibility too. Such great news, right, Meg? Oh my gosh. C. Taylor says she may have fed her puppy her food. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And it's just so sad, the poor little dog. And I mean, the dog was found all the way in a different spot. Very odd. She was driving all over the place that day, and God only knows what she got rid of, or any of that. I think so too. I do too. Just from my research, I will say, it's not like I'm trying to deep dive or profile this guy. This poor guy, I feel so sorry for him. He's a nice looking guy, and she had an obsession over him. And then the worst thing that could happen, and quite possibly the best, is a child coming into that situation, right? Because you have to then deal with this person because you have a child with them. And he might have been scared, and I'm not trying to demean him as a man or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, this woman is unhinged and she's got like major issues. You know, reminds me of Travis Decker, and this is a great comparison for that. Even though there's major differences, like the number of children involved, this mother had custody, it seems. In my opinion, it looks like, you know, a typical mother having the custody, and the father, it may have even, looks a little bit like there may have been an on again, off again situation. But again, you know, when you go through that and you're trying to get away from somebody like this and they stalk you, sometimes you give in, you know, and you did love that person at one point and you did think that person was a good person at one point. So it can be really, really tricky. And the most dangerous the most dangerous point in a domestic violence situation is when someone is deciding to leave. You know, when the person who is being abused decides enough is enough, I'm out of here. The abuser doesn't like that. They love to use coercive control. If they cannot control you, then they are going to possibly hurt you, you know. Yeah, well, that's true. I am too, Bear. She wasn't alone. She had a child. Yes, single mom is rough, but you're a team. I agree. We never heard anything joyful about her daughter in the TikToks. Let's just be honest. They were all about her. They were all about her problems and boo friggin' who, but I'm awesome. I got this. And, you know, it's just, it's like, she was peddling bullcrap the entire time to all of the viewers that she had. I don't know how many people she had. Honestly, I don't care. She's like telling other people how to live, but then she's going on there and basically, you know, showing that she has no idea what she's doing. The false confidence is a really big one. It's just crazy. Yeah, exactly. It is amazing. Mama Bear says the young's body's ability to heal itself is amazing. It is. It definitely is. Fruit for possibly low blood sugar, Meg says, and Gatorade, for, of course, for electrolytes and salt. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's it. It's just a light, something light, you know, since her stomach isn't used to like having all of that heavy stuff. And oh God, poor baby. I hope she's being super loved and watched over right now too. I do too. And who knows, if she was being kept from her other family members, there's a very strong possibility that, you know, there's somebody watching that baby 24/7, you know, because they know the ramifications of what could have really happened. I'd imagine, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'd be beside myself. Bitter, alone, and angry. See, those were the, you know, Mama Bear, I started out, you know, very heavily compassionate over the situation, figuring out, okay, this is mental illness. Clearly, I'm not a professional. I'm not a medical doctor, but we do see this. Obviously, help was needed. She did not have a proper support system, in my opinion, or she pretended like she didn't, which would make things even worse. So I really hope that's not the case. But again, when we're dealing with toxic and manipulative people, they are going to trick us, and they're going to be the woe is me. I have all these problems. Nobody's there for me, even though they have a bunch of people that are there. And if they would just be more self-aware, and maybe they don't have the capacity to do that, but if they would step back and take a look, I mean, she was looking into she was in therapy. We'll just say that for her. She was in therapy. She was looking into a lot of different things, energies, different ways of living happy, but she was very much looking for them externally instead of internally. And I think that's, you know, one thing that all of us kind of learn in life is that you really have to rely on yourself for happiness. You know, you can't rely on others. And you also have to realize that it's very important to get help when you're feeling that despair, right? That bitterness that Mama Bear talked about. because that's the toxicity that creeps in. And then when you have a mental illness on top of it, no bueno. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. She says, Matt had Claire all week and Rachel had her on the weekends. So that's a different arrangement, right? Because usually it goes the other way around or every other weekend. So that's interesting. Thank you so much for letting us know that. Yeah, so that changes things a little bit. So at least she was only with her mother for 2 days. I wonder why she was trying to exert control over her mother-in-law then and hold the baby from her. Mama Bear, that was actually going to be my title for tonight. Well, we were talking about so many other, so many things tonight. But you're right. That is what I thought. The first thing I thought after the compassionate part of me, with the help of a guest, talking about the mental illness portion of this, I thought of Martin Lawrence's movie, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. And I was like, oh boy, this is what this poor man is dealing with. But I also was thinking after that was, Rachel is the epitome of a wrath of a woman scorned on a whole new level. And it's like, yeah, the wrath of a woman scorned 2.0. And which really made me wonder, was there somebody else that had come into Claire and Matt's life, and that this one wasn't having it, and since she has a child with him, that's how the children are pulled in as a pawn. And so I was thinking about that as well, just with the vindictive nature of the TikToks, bringing me to that conclusion. Thank you. Sammy says, I'm glad that we had the opportunity to speculate about her issues the other night before the YouTube psychologist gave her a point of view. I think Lady Freedom and Chloe Jade and the chat were all pretty spot on. Yeah, I would have to agree. Because, examining the mental health that's clearly there, right? The manic episodes that we witnessed, and these are just things that we were witnessing, right? And we're not doctors. Again, we're not the experts, but there's a lot to be said about these behaviors that even like a regular person, if we can witness it, and again, this bud's for you, gentlemen. If you see these characteristics in a lady that you're interested in, you can dodge a huge bullet for yourself. And I'm saying that to be fair to, the men out there, because, we talk about these issues all the time with men doing it to women, but now we're seeing this, and it's very real, and it's undeniable. It's in our face. This woman is toxic. No man, this is no man's land. Don't date this. Don't get involved with this. Do not have a child with this, right? It's just like a narcissistic relationship with a man that is obsessive, overbearing, take, one-sided, doesn't give a shit about your feelings or anybody. Even their children, doesn't care. Even the family dog doesn't get any type of love. Let me. I think I still have this TikTok of her and the dog. Let me see if I can't find the one with her and the dog. I think it might be this one here. We'll just play this, but this is what I'm talking about right here.
Yes, I'm a nice person, but if you cross the line too many times, things can change very quickly.
And I apologize, some of these do not have sound.
Hate, man, it's an expensive emotion. Hating requires the caring. I'd rather not.
Love demands the death of oneself.
Well, that wasn't really the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. It was kind of like my life was being like energetically held hostage. I've never felt like that before. And it's taken me way longer than I thought to break free from whatever was like binding me. It's very complicated. I'm not going to hash it out. All my details. Look at my TikTok history. I'm not going to talking about the past kind of thing. But anyways, it finally happened. I broke free. My new chapter is emerging. Momentum picking up. Movement. That will flow. That was so scary. But now I know what dangers really work. We need to work it. Anyways, new day. New life.
And then she talks about dipping her toe back into the dating pool again. So maybe she's dating.
I hate the spirals of healing. Oh my god. I've been doing so well the last couple weeks. And today I had like a full-blown meltdown. Not really, but for me. I'm starting to reach the surface levels of my reality, which is a good sign. Even though I don't know how much longer I'm going to have to do this. So the issue that I'm dealing with now is my place of employment, because my brain associates so many aspects of my day-to-day life at work with danger that it's like I go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And for me, it's freeze right now. So that's super fun. So because I am overwhelmed with work, which is another trigger for me, super fun. I can't focus there today, at least. And so I don't bring down the vibe and focus. I'm going to work from home. But like, this is unsustainable. Like, little tasks trigger memories, which trigger my survival response. And like, it's just a freaking nightmare. And like, I've healed before, and I think I've healed from something this cataclysmic before, but I don't remember what it was and how I did it. The only thing I do know is that I definitely didn't have this level of responsibilities back then, so I have no conscious frame of reference as to how long this is going to continue to take, for me to feel okay again. I know I'll never be the same person, that's for sure, and you know what? I wouldn't want to be, because that person ended up in a freaking nightmare. I know I only absorbed like a fraction of his pain. I think the main thing that haunts me is his pain. I wonder if he knows what hurt him so much. Anyways. So I think I figured out a trick to rewire my subconscious in regards to the tasks that I have to do that make me panic for some weird reason, just because of how the brain works, but whatever. So I need to reprogram my mind to subconsciously understand that I'm not under attack. And it's hard to do that, and so you need to kind of like hack the system, if you will. So every day is different, right? Like, what works today may not work tomorrow, but I'm pleased with my progress because I figured out how to hack my system. I put on a soothing TV show that I've watched 1,000 times that soothes me, apparently, so that I can focus on my work simultaneously, and it's working. I'm so happy. And the show that I've chosen to calm me down is The Mentalist, which is kind of poetic because, what's his name? Jane, whatever, the main character. He's been through so much pain that what he can see in people is overwhelming, I know. and talk about turning pain into power. So it's very comforting to have something to relate to, even though it's fictional. It's working.
Okay, so I mean, a lot of scary behavior. I mean, I wouldn't want a guy walking around talking about that sort of thing, my pain, and him absorbing my pain, and that would creep me out big time. Megan says, y'all, her TikTok freaked me out, and I don't ever get freaked out. I mean, it really, it's disturbing, is what it is. It's highly disturbing. That behavior is, I mean, very, sporadic, very all over the place. Doesn't finish really a thought. You're up, you're down, up, down, up, down. I mean, it's enough to drive anybody crazy. And then let alone being the subject of the obsession with a person like this. Mama Bear says, I find it repulsive that a woman would hurt someone who lived in her body for 9 months. No comprende. I don't comprende either. So basically she had visitation on the weekends. That's news to me, Meg. Yeah. I mean, that is better chances of less abuse, not saying that there wasn't, right? But at least little Claire had, got to go to her dad's through the week. And then, I mean, that says a lot, I think, that arrangement anyway. Rachel was a director at a high-end restaurant. She worked her way up from, waitress all the way up to the director. That's why I was thinking they may have met, her and Matt may have met in the restaurant industry, and he may have been one of her chefs. And I didn't know that he was actually a chef until I went and looked at his Instagram, and I'm like, oh, he's got a whole portfolio. He's definitely a chef. That's what I'm wondering, but I don't know. I don't know, Meg, because it was later on in the TikToks that she had talked about it. So, yeah, she was the manager of 100. Yeah, restaurant managers or districts, something like that, has gotten to a high-paying position, allegedly. Yeah, I don't know why she would quit her job, right? Because she ultimately ended up quitting her job on June 6th, I believe. Oh, absolutely. Megan L says, I'm just glad that we still have a bunch of people who can see these cases and our hearts hurt. It happens too often and most people become desensitized. I agree. And I think it's really important to see these dynamics before something bad happens. When somebody's not acting right, and then also, get them some help. Get them the help that they need. Try at least, right? And then protect the children who are involved, right? Because the children don't belong in the mix of that chaos that she was bringing. No sense. Psychobabbling Mama Bear. I agree. Yeah, and I watched quite a bit of them too. We talked about some of them. I've downloaded them on. It's really amazing some of the things that were going on, and how she was just going on and on about those things, and nobody said, maybe they did, but nobody said, hey friend, are you okay? Or hey, not every part of your story should be shared with, these people, or, things like that could really, really help, Oh, Starflower, so well said. Thank you so much. If you lose yourself in a relationship, it's not for you. I agree. And that's what she was claiming, to have lost herself in the relationship. But I don't see that. I see her losing herself in the obsession over this man. I see her losing herself in not accepting that it's not going to work out. It's absolutely terrifying. If you've been in a relationship with someone like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, good on you, because it is not fun. It's absolutely suffocating. Megan, I would not either. I'd never sleep again if this was my roommate. Could you imagine sleeping next to this person? I mean, she's scary as hell. Oh, that's the one where you could hear Claire in the back seat. My air conditioner is making it hard for me to hear when I replay these. Yeah, well, I don't know, because I'm thinking that maybe Mom Bear says, did news say that she may need an evaluation to see if she's competent to stand trial? They didn't say anything about the evaluation, but they said that she was fit to stand trial as of when they were interviewed yesterday. If so, watch, she'll be competent after 6 months in the cuckoo's nest. Well, that's kind of what they do, right? If they say, hey, look, I'm not fit to stand trial, then they will send them somewhere. And I don't know how it works in Canada, but they will try to get you there, right? They'll try to get you fit for trial. So cataclysmic. Everything is so dramatic with this lady, right? I mean, all of us girls, we can be dramatic. I get it. We just can be, and people are sensitive. People have feelings, right? And so that's important to remember. But when she uses words like this, I am too bare, this is like, everything's a travesty. She's catastrophizing things, right? Don't make it bigger than it is, right? What's the saying? Don't sweat the small stuff, pick your battles. Life is so hard. If everything is this huge event and this huge catastrophe, then, again, you keep doing that and people are not going to believe you. They're going to be like, this lady, is obviously has issues, right? Because not everything is a big deal, right? Some things are like, damn, I wish that didn't happen, but let's find a solution, right? It's easier to find a solution than it is to sit there and dwell in that stuff. And it's so much better for your own mental health not to do that too, because if you're in a negative space, it can be really hard to pull yourself out of. But dwelling on it and, obsessing over it is not healthy. Sammy G said NPD, histrionic, some schizophrenic, magical thinking, and some BPD, all of the personality disorders like Lori Vallow, plus all of the manipulation, and look at the charades to get BD's attention. Check. Yeah, I agree, Sammy. And there was another thing Megan had sent me, was spiritual psychosis. And it goes along with kind of bringing in these spiritual ideations along with a psychosis that kind of comes with it. I will have to pull maybe some of that video into review because it was really good, but it's basically saying that, spiritual psychosis is a thing, and some of the characteristics are definitely fitting here. And look, to be honest with you guys, I watch a lady and her name is Miss Faye, and she's adorable. She's an older lady. She talks about low energy vibration. She talks about being on a higher level of vibration and those different things. I have watched and read the book, The Secret, and I watched the movie of it, right? Manifesting positivity, manifesting destiny, whatever. And those are all really great concepts that can help. Meditation, yoga, all kinds of different things that she was trying. She was struggling, and it did seem like she was trying, but there was that huge ego that was in the way, and it was not allowing her to believe what she was actually doing. And so she was failing at it, and she was getting more and more frustrated. It seems like, why isn't the universe on my side when I'm doing all of these things and I'm putting all of these principles into, and I'm trying to be mindful and I'm trying to eat healthy, and it can be very, very frustrating, and it can be a lot of pressure. And I think, all of that was compounded on her as well. And the pressure of being perfect. A lot of us deal with that kind of thing, right? You want to be perfect. You want to have the perfect job, perfect family, everything's great. But life doesn't work that way, and it's really not realistic. So that can contribute to the negative self-talk, the negative feelings, feelings of worthlessness, or, not being good enough. She even has the tick where she clears her throat a lot of times in a row to kind of get attention. And that's another thing that I think that this woman, if she is not the center of attention, she does have a lot of issues with that. And it's, then she'll fly into a rage, so to speak, instead of, understanding that you're not always going to be the center of attention. And it's just something that, you're going to have to deal with. Very immature thinking, in my opinion. Yeah, exactly. Tina Girl says, what is she even talking about? It's all over the place. Lots of words, but not really saying anything. And see, that's what I also heard from the authorities when they were questioning her. It was like, it was a very long interrogation, but nothing was being said. And see, obviously you're trying to hang on her words and try to figure out where this little girl is. And that had to have been just so frustrating. Seems a bit schizophrenic. Yeah, I think so too. Especially when we were talking about the schizoaffective disorder, the characteristics seem to fit. Mama Bear said she had a therapist, goes in with shite on steroids on her mind, leaves appointment with shite on steroids on her mind. Boy, oh boy. Well, and that's the thing. She was misinterpreting, in my opinion, what the counselor was saying to her, how the counselor was trying to help her. And it's pretty apparent that, she was misusing kind of the resources that she was trying to implement, right? Again, just all of it, the therapy, the, positive thinking, abundance, right? How weird is it that lady was wearing an apron that said abundance on it? If she was dealing with, spiritual psychosis, that probably just said, oh, there's my sign. How weird is that? That's scary. Hey, Jocelyn, good to see you. Good to see you. I know, Kathy says she's in that case, that poor baby girl. I mean, just obviously unstable, and yeah, it would be a long road before I would ever even think about reintroducing that poor little girl into this crazy woman's world. And I hate saying that as her, I know that's her mother, but well, she was going to counseling, Starflower. Yeah, because I can understand. Well, and we were talking about this too with the mental illness aspect of it. Sometimes they don't think they need help, and especially a narcissist, which I'm wondering if she is a narcissist. They really think they have everything figured out. They know it all. She has that arrogance, superiority, in my opinion. Excuse me. Sorry, I should have muted that, guys. Sammy says, and said her screen name is part of a new age religious stuff that people with MH disorders can get sucked into and think it's reality. All of that is way beyond me. Well, I mean, and a lot of it is snake oil, right? It's like, it's smoke and mirrors. It's like, take this pill and you're going to feel better. Like, that's just not how it works, unfortunately. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. And it takes a lot of work to, it takes a lot of work to work on yourself, like to really, really work on yourself, right? But I do think she thought she was. And so that's part of the frustration that I can see here. not ever giving her a free pass, because believe me, I am like, I don't even know, like Sammy says, beyond me. I have no idea. This is crazy in my opinion. But I do see that here. Like, there's instances where she's like, okay, positive. And then she's like, oh shit, negative, because it's not working, right? Whatever she was doing wasn't working. She also talked about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that is a famous quote. And it makes sense, right? Because that just means that if you keep doing it over and over and you're not, you're expecting a different result of it, a different result to happen, that's going to drive you insane, right? It's the definition of insanity, whatever. And I think that that's probably kind of how she felt, especially because she wasn't really doing the same thing over and over. She's trying all these different things, and I'm going to have an attitude of gratitude, and I'm going to do this, and positive affirmations. Those are all wonderful techniques. I've used them myself. And so, but if it's not working, then you're frustrated, right? Overthinks everything every day. And see, that's a really tough spot to be in, right? That's a really tough spot to be in. Mama Bear says, you think she overthinks everything all day, every day. I think she does, and I think it drove her anxiety up and all of that. I've not heard anything about her family or her support system either. And that makes me really sad for her. You know what I mean? Because I don't think that there is a whole lot of that going on. Be angry. God's word says, be angry and sin not. Right. Yeah, because no matter how angry you are, and she made her situation so much worse. I mean, it's Megan L says, see something, say something, right? Those TikToks, someone should have said something and done something. She freaks me out, and I've worked with extremely sick and violent people most of my life, right? She's scary. She is definitely a ticking time bomb, a loose cannon, in my opinion. I was never scared or freaked out, Meg says. I mean, it's very scary, in my opinion, what we're seeing. Oh, Starflower, I'm so glad that you did that, though. She said, I just ended a 4-month relationship because he became controlling and was pressuring me to let him move in. And that's just... it's like any time that you give your heart to somebody, right, it's vulnerable, and it takes a lot of strength. And so, but it also takes a lot of strength to realize that what's happening is not healthy. And the sooner that you end that situation, the better, even though it hurts so bad at that time. And you're like, man, I really thought this person was great. It's better to just, let it be and move on, because it's one of those things where most of the time, and I don't want to seem insensitive, but if you think about it like this, it might be easier. Most of the time that other person isn't thinking about you the way that you're thinking about them. Most of the time that other person has moved on and they're doing their own thing and they're happy. So, don't let them bring you down, and just feel like you dodged that bullet, right? The sooner that you can find out, the better. Because life is too short, and you should never have to be unhappy or feel like you're not good enough, or the person is pressuring you into things or making you feel like you should be moving faster in the relationship, because those are all really major red flags. There's nothing wrong with taking things slow. Again, I know that probably contradicts me saying life is short, but there's nothing wrong with taking things slowly, because when you do, you'll find out really important information, like our friend Starflower, and she was able to get away from that, right? So that is the biggest thing before you're too intertwined, because here's the reason why somebody would want to move in with you really quickly. If you don't identify or if you can't identify this, maybe you've never been through it before, or it's a whirlwind and you're so in love too. But the only reason why somebody would want to just like quick move in with you is so they can get control. And I know that sounds terrible, and you might be saying, well, Lady Freedom, how do you ever like trust anybody, or how do you ever start a relationship with somebody if you think like that? Well, take it slow, because the things will come out if you do take it slow. If you quick go in and go all in at first, that's when really bad things can happen, and you can get intertwined with somebody that you don't want to be intertwined with, even though you thought you did. It sucks that people aren't transparent, that they play games. It sucks that people are so awful, and really, some of them are super passive aggressive, and if you hurt them or slighted them, then all they're out to do is hurt or slight you, even if you didn't intend on doing it, or even if you weren't trying to upset them. If they feel like you did them wrong, then they're going to do you wrong 10 times worse before they're done with you. And that's another very toxic trait that you will uncover if you take things slow, in my opinion. Starflower says Sarah Wandra has spiritual psychosis, in my opinion. And there's a lot of people out there that do have it. I didn't realize it was even a thing until I was researching it. And Megan sent me the video, and I'm like, oh, wow, That's right, Mama Bear. Thank you. Good job, Starflower. Don't lower your standards and protect yourself always. Always. Because that other person's not caring about your protection. They don't care. Trust me, they don't care. And it's hurtful. And it's not right, especially if you've given them love and you've always been loyal to them. That doesn't mean they're going to do that to you. Sometimes that means they'll take advantage of you because they think you're too nice. Oh, Mama Bear says, I wonder if anyone ever told Rachel, don't get into any deep subjects with me. I have a shallow mind. That would be the perfect defense. Because, again, she has the superiority of thinking she's so, superior over everybody. What's good for me isn't good for everybody else, right? Because I'm special. And it's like, well, not really. You're just a regular lady, and you have a lot of issues, and maybe you need to look internally and stop looking externally, which she did mention that a few times, but it was so scattered that even she wasn't able to make the connection. So how would anybody else? Bab says, geez, can you imagine working for a mental case like this female? I bet her employees are like, it's about time she got hers, in my opinion. I was thinking the same thing. And you must have had a toxic boss before, Babs. And so that it can be very, very difficult. You can never please them. You're always looking for that validation and that pat on the back for your hard work. It's never going to come. Doesn't matter how much of their work you do for them or anything. She's toxic as hell. I would not want to work for her. No. There's a lot of people out there that talk about narcissistic employees and employers. One really great person is Dr. Ramani. She talks about workplace narcissism, and she does a great job of explaining it in different scenarios and things like that. Starflower says counseling is great to teach you how to self-reflect and learn coping skills, but you must do the work on yourself too. I mean, I want to put that on a t-shirt because I really think that is the key, because it doesn't matter what counselor or how great they are or how, whatever they're saying makes sense. If you cannot, reflect and implement and learn these coping skills and actually put them into play, then you're not ready to work on yourself, and it will never work. And I agree with that, Starflower. You are so right. And you become empowered through counseling because they teach you what to look for. But I wonder how many times her therapist actually looked at her and said, you know, have you ever thought about getting evaluated for narcissism or something to that effect? And who knows? I don't know. Maybe there was an evaluation that was forced through the courts. I'm not sure. I just assumed a therapist in terms of like SW, but heard I could have had a cosmic whatever the thing is, a therapist or a coach. Well, and also that's one thing that like helped me maintain the therapies that I went through too, was like even watching people like Dr. Ramani, watching people like Rebecca Zung, the narcissist negotiator, watching people like Lisa Ballou, who says, you know what, I am good enough. So those things are good reminders, but you have to be in that mindset where you actually believe that false sense of, you know, I'm going to get you and look at me and, oh, I'm going to make you sorry you ever left me. That's not worth it. That is actually like negativity, and you're trying to act like it's positivity, and all it is negativity, right? Trust me, it's okay. If somebody's, you know, treating you like a doormat and they're, you know, they're bouncing you back and forth, oh, I love you, and, you know, let's get back together, and you're in this toxic situation, I get it. You know, that's going to cause some toxicity to spill out, and it will totally happen. And, you know, you might post a song, or you might listen to a song, or you might be like, yeah, this is my jam right now, this is my anthem, you know, and but you're getting out that negative energy. That's healthy. But when you're using it constantly as a weapon and be like, look at me, I'm, you know, so much better than you, and you're going to be sorry one day. Don't spend your life trying to make somebody sorry that they weren't with you. I mean, it's over and it's done with, and that's better off that way. If it was meant to be, it would have been. There's nothing you can do to control that, and I think that was part of her frustration as well, is that she wanted to have such like that power and control over this man. And it's like, you don't have any power or control over anybody. You don't even have power or control over yourself, woman. Come on. Kathy Bartholomew, trust but pay close attention. Actions always speak louder than words. Yeah, because somebody can tell you all day that they love you, but if they never show you, yeah, they can say, I care about you so much, but if they're showing you differently, believe them. Thanks, Kathy. I really appreciate your comment, because that is spot on. 100%. And Bab says, unfortunately, I've had two horrible managers, both a female, bipolar as hell, never knew what to expect one day to the next, in a roller coaster and scary. Oh yeah, definitely. And it's so toxic, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need this job, right? Or, oh my gosh, I really did like this job. And then now all of a sudden, yeah, it's, I agree. And it is a roller coaster, and it's scary. Thanks, Babs. Yeah. Yeah. And I will say this, that I've also learned in just in my experiences in life and things like that. So, but if a person wants to make time for you, they will make time for you. Don't ever listen to someone telling you, oh, I'm just busy. That's bullshit. They're lying to you. They're not busy. They found time for you before. But all of a sudden they get busy, and they're claiming, oh no, it's no big deal, I'm just busy. Bullshit, you're busy. Go be busy someplace else and fuck off. Yeah, I'm telling you, because it's the truth. If they want to be with you and they want to be around you, then they're going to show you. Absolutely. I'm sorry I got back off that tangent, but you know. Jocelyn knows what's up. She says, I love Dr. Ramani. I actually won a book of hers when I was in one of her chats. How cool is that? Oh my gosh, I would love that. That's wonderful. Yeah, so it's just, you know, yeah, don't ever believe somebody. If they're not showing you that they're loved, then they don't, you know. Oh, Mama Bear recommended a book, says, read the book Love Doesn't Hurt. I'm surprised I have not read that book. I've read a lot of great like books like that, you know, whatever they're called, self-help books. But those are really good to kind of like put you in a positive mindset and take your mind off of things as well. So thanks, Mama Bear. I agree. And the same thing goes for meditation and things like that. But yeah, don't dwell on somebody who doesn't want to give you their time, or try and pander over somebody that's, you know, not giving you the equal amount of time. If you feel like that, call them out on it and then be like, okay, you ain't got time for me, obviously, bye. And that's fine, but don't you dare string me along. Who do you think you are? Jocelyn says, my boss now is a narcissistic, controlling power tripper. Oh no. I'm sorry, Jocelyn. And that is one of the most difficult things to deal with, just like in any other relationship, because if we think about it, we spend a lot of time at work, right? At least 40 hours for most of us at work. And that's a lot of time out of our day in life to deal with that, It really is. Mama Bear says, for women struggling with abusive partners, don't know how to break away, read the book, Women Who Love Too Much. Oh, I read that one. I have read that one. Thank you, Mama Bear. That is a really good recommendation. Thank you so much. Yeah. And that's the thing. In this case, I see a man who might have been loving too much, right? And a woman that's just taking and taking and taking from him, right? And maybe he is showing her his time, but she's just taking and it's never good enough. That could really be it. So, Kathy, I'm sorry, Kathy. I don't want to be so blunt, but but it's true. And I've dealt with it. And it's just like, yeah, don't chase after, men, women, don't chase after somebody, because it's not worth it. If they want to make time for you, they will do it. They will show you. The minute that they stop doing it, that means they're not interested anymore. And don't let them tell you any different so they can keep you in their back pocket or so they can text you whenever the other shit doesn't pan out. Don't do that. Don't do that, please, because you're worth more than that. You're better than that. And that's not superiority. That is self-love and worth, right? That's what self-love and worth is. And it doesn't mean that you hate the other person. Again, please don't be toxic with this other person if they hurt you, whatever. But just know that that's not your person, right? And so it's just really really important, I think, to just remember that and just be like, hey, I'm being confident. I'm putting up that boundary, and call me when you change, but they're not going to change. So it's kind of sucks. It sucks. It does. And I feel for her. Nobody wants their family to be a wreck, and yes. See, Starflower, I agree. This woman is looking outside herself to be fixed, which will never work. Never. And it's too much pressure and an unrealistic expectation to put on your partner too, right? Because you can't just be like this very mopey, dopey person and oh my gosh, everything, and then expect some person to come along that is positive, that has done work on themselves, and that is looking for a relationship, to want to be with somebody who is not ready to meet them at their level, right? Because it takes a lot of work, like you guys are saying, to bring yourself to that level, right? Of saying like, I'm good with just me, and I've worked on myself, and I'm the best me I can be, and I'm ready to be in a relationship with someone else. It's almost not fair to do that if you aren't ready, right? Not fair to anybody. So it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. But that doesn't mean that you can't get there. It just means that person's not the one. And I don't think that she really was able to ever get there. And now, if he was stringing her along, then that's not okay for him. That was wrong. But it's tough. It's tough leaving a relationship that's toxic. And there's no doubt that it's toxic here. No doubt at all. Jocelyn says, I grew up with a narcissistic mother who controlled everything. My therapist described her as an octopus with her tentacles wrapped around my life. Oh, wow, that's powerful. I still struggle with being manipulated and controlled. I'm sorry, Jocelyn. And it is hard. It is hard because people are so manipulative. They are so manipulative. And I struggle with giving people the benefit of the doubt. And then I realized, oh boy, okay, even if I give them a little bit, let's see how much of it they try to take advantage of, I let them bite off a little bit, chew on that and see how that's going. And then you realize like, oh boy. And when you have narcissistic parents, that does put you in a position where you're kind of until you realize it, because I know how that is. Until you realize it, then you're like, oh wow, I was in a toxic situation, and love doesn't have to be that way. Love isn't toxic, and like you said, the tentacles, and that's, narcissists love the control. They love the control. They love to triangulate. It's just so unfortunate, you know. Good night, Mama Bear. Thank you so much. Kathy says, I admire blood goes better than sugar-coated BS. I'm sorry, Kathy. And it's like, I'm passionate about that, because it's like I've been through it, but also I want people to be like, hey, I could be strong in this situation and know that, what I'm seeing here is not right, because it's hard to see it when you're in it. And then also the manipulation in the beginning where, they make you fall for them. So they're doing all these nice things for you, and they're constantly being kind and going out of their way to make you feel special. And then all of a sudden they turn it off. It's almost a natural reaction for a good person to start looking internally and saying, oh gosh, what have I done to this person to make them feel differently towards me, because they're definitely acting differently towards me. And so then you start internalizing that when it's really not about you and it's not your fault. It's about them and their hangups and their bullshit. But they're putting it onto you and wanting you to be in a relationship with that. And it's like, hell no, I'm not going to be in a relationship with that. I'll go back to the nice person that you were, but if you're going to be like this, then no, and if it's not even something that I did and it's you, then it makes it harder, to move forward. That's true. Jocelyn says, I've learned to be blunt and not sugarcoat. It helps me express myself better, but people aren't very receptive to it. I think it's the hardest thing is the assertiveness for me too, Jocelyn, because it's like you want to, be assertive, but then you don't want to be like zero to bitch, and I've done that before. And when I was learning to be more assertive, but then, not hurt someone's feelings in the process was tough. Because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but then again, I don't want to be hurt either. So it's like you're protecting yourself also, when you're saying it in a very matter of fact, just like, here it is. But it is like a defense mechanism for you too. And when you meet a good person who really cares about you, they're going to understand that. So that's the biggest thing too. Or somebody who's been through it before too. But it is hard, because like I said, any person that's a good person is going to look within and say, what can I have done better? Or, where can we work on this? Or, or if you're with a partner, you're like, well, where can we work on this? What can we do to make it better? If somebody else isn't receptive to it and it's only one-sided, then it's never going to work. I had to learn that the hard way, too, because you think you can overdo it, and make up for their, it's like do their homework for them or something like that. But you really, that's not sustainable either. Cause then again, it's one-sided and you're like exhausted and the other person's just kicking back like, yep, it's nice to have this person around, I'm not going to treat them that way or let them know that, but it's nice to have them in my back pocket when I need them. And then that's where you begin to be in a situation where you don't want that. It's not fair. It's and it hurts. It hurts really bad. Mama Bear says, if you're a person who can't say no, learn to integrate that word into your vocabulary. Okay, that's it. 99. It's true though. No is a word that, and I totally get what Jocelyn's saying too. Thank you, Mama Bear. Good night. It is. It's like the well, it's like when people are used to hearing yes from you, right? And you're very accommodating and you're the one, even in a work situation, yes, of course, yes. In an intimate relationship, you're always the one saying yes and giving and giving and giving, but you're not getting that back. It could be really, really frustrating. And it can make you feel like you're, you know, a doormat, because essentially you are at a certain point, you do become that. Unfortunately, it sucks. But then you realize it, and you're like, and then you start saying like, no, I can't do that because I have this, you know, prior thing, and I can't do that. And, or no, I can't switch days with you this week because I have something going on. That's when you'll see people getting pissed off with you, and that's okay. Let them be pissed off with you, because here's the deal. They'll respect you. They'll start respecting you too. They don't like to hear no, like Jocelyn said. You know, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to, and like Mama Bear said, but still say it, because it's going to help you in the long run. And then they'll stop they'll stop taking advantage of you, and they'll find some other person to take advantage of, which just, it sucks. But I mean, and I know nobody wishes that on anyone, but it's just what happens, you know. If they don't, they're only going to get away with as much as they think they're going to. And that's awful, you know. Because it's just taking advantage of another person. Jocelyn says, I was 30 when I went to counseling and learned this. Talk about an eye-opener. My whole life felt like a lie, like I lived her life and not mine. No wonder I always felt lost growing up. Yeah, that is so powerful, Jocelyn. And, you know, it is very eye-opening. Man, it's eye-opening, and it hurts, right? Especially if it's your parent, if any loved one. And, you know, a boss is annoying, and, you know, and it's tough to deal with, and it can hurt financially. You know, they can cause a lot of shit. But, you know, when it comes to a parent or a love interest relationship, it could really hurt. Or the father of your children, the mother of your children. And once you realize, you know, through counseling, and you go there and you're like, wow, you know, these tactics are used by all of these people, right? This is not something that's only happening to me. It can really, really, like you said, it's eye-opening, and it can really put things into perspective, and it can be frustrating. It can make you it can be infuriating, right? It can make you so mad. They're like, I can't believe I let them do this to me, or I can't believe I didn't see right through this. But don't be mad at yourself. They're the ones with the problem, not you. It's your good-hearted nature. It's because you loved them. That's why you couldn't see it. It's not your fault. It's their fault for taking advantage of you. It's their fault for being a jerk, not yours. And, you know, and the same thing, you know, goes for a parent and everything, you know. It is a hard one. It is. Texting is way easier than speaking when I say no. It is. Oh, good night, little Redo. Thank you for being here. But yeah, it's about putting boundaries up, you know? Oh, good night, Kathy Bartholomew. I'm so glad you were here. Thank you. I'm just going to play this one last TikTok, guys, just because I need to, I'm going to go use the restroom really quick. I must have drank too much stuff today. But I'm going to play this really quick, and I'll be right back. And I want to go over this post from At Night with you guys on Sebastian's case. So I'm going to switch us over to our Sebastian, and I'm going to play you one of these TikToks I think I didn't get through the other night. I want to make sure I get a good one. Okay, let me try this one.
Realizations of the day. Number 1, price of freedom, comfort. Number 2, when you realize that every single person that you've ever been with has been a mirror of your own self-worth. Pitiful. So I just got back from seeing my therapist because in light of all my huge life changes, while it feels in line, my ego keeps trying to convince me that I've gone fucking nuts because it's unknown, it's unsafe, it's, for me, absolutely wild. So the good news is that I have not gone crazy, that I seem to be seeing things clearly. However, she did stress the importance of being vigilant of my mindset in this transitional phase, which I recognize because my old patterns love to sneak back. This one's going to be a doozy. So I have a huge day ahead of me, and I just need to get this out, so bear with me. Normally, when I deal with heartbreak, I have a very classic MO. Fairly simple. I get angry, and I just say, fuck it. Who needed them anyways? And I turn the page. This time, not so simple, because a couple reasons. Namely, I kind of knew better. There's no really reason to be angry. What was done and what wasn't done isn't a reflection of me, and I know that because for once we actually saw each other, and I can see how it stems from his story, his pain, and number one. Number two, I didn't want to do that again. I mean, how has that served me so far? Which requires me to just sit with it, which is what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks, which kind of driving me crazy because apparently it's a thing when there's like a deep connection to like feel the other person's energy even through distance, which is super freaking annoying because I can do so much work and then just get pulled back into it, which is also a mirror of what's happening inside because that means that there's still a window, there's still something that's not resolved. And so I've known that there's something to resolve. And I believe that I have finally scraped the bottom of the barrel of my subconscious and unraveled a very sad truth. While my feelings may have been real, question is where they come from. Do they come from a healthy place? Because I think I've just been so fed up that I finally took the rose-colored glasses off and took a good look and realized that unhealthy patterns happening here. Anyways, so looking at that, come to find out that because of my previous experiences, childhood, past relationships, I associate love with chaos, with emotional depth with drama, which is so sad. And it's a little bit more complex than that, but for the sake of this video, I'll keep it short, if you will. So it made me realize that while, yes, my feelings became real, where they originated from is a little bit sad. And I did all this because I didn't have my normal coping mechanism of getting angry, so I reverted to what I know is trying to understand through research like a crazy little scientist. And over the last couple of weeks, a lot of stuff about actual love comes up, and I mean, I've been getting it, but I don't know, connections were missing in my head. And you know, you keep seeing stuff like, oh, you know, love is like calm and stable and nurturing, etc., etc. I don't even know what that means. And when you realize that you're 33 goddamn years old and you don't even know what love looks like, it's like... And I know it's a little convoluted, but I realize that, or not only I realize through my research that, you know, the way we love, the way we are loved, the way we're allowing others to love us is a reflection of what's going on inside. And so real healthy love, if it's calm and stable, etc., that needs to be the energy I embody. And while I have done some inner work to get to that place, and outer work, namely meditation, yoga, etc., my life needs to catch up a little bit. And there's been one truth that I've just been avoiding looking at, and that is the fact that I smoked. How am I really a calm person who can just be with her emotions consistently if I'm there going, so it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but I figure I'm rehauling my life. Let's throw smoking in there. So I'm going to start quitting. Yay. So to resume my frantic morning thoughts, I think I'm just so traumatized and so fed up that I'm like, universe, I get it. I learned my lessons. I will do anything never to have to go through anything like that ever again. 2024 humbled me. 2025 is my year to thrive. It's the big day, and I had another little panic attack, I guess. Not really, but kind of. I don't think my brain fully made the connection yet that my happiness will no longer be contingent upon external factors. And I realized that that's what was freaking me out. I'm scared of being happy because I think the other shoe's going to drop. But if I'm the other shoe, then I have the power, which is a lot of pressure.
Okay, guys. So this is, again, another example of Rachel Todd. Basically, she says, I had a panic attack. Not really, but kind of. She's either minimizing it or she's never had a panic attack in her life, because you don't kind of have a panic attack. You're not kind of pregnant. You know when you have a panic attack. And as a matter of fact, I thought I was dying the first time I had a panic attack. I thought I was dying, right? It's a horrible feeling, heavy chest, can't breathe. You know, it's awful. It's an awful feeling, and you know it when it happens. And it's not a thing of, not really, but okay. Oh, I had a huge meltdown today. For me, my type of a meltdown. What does that even mean? A meltdown is like red alarm, you know, shit's going down, you're freaking out. That's a meltdown. Again, you don't just kind of have a meltdown. Now, another thing that I've noticed about Rachel, again, she's blaming his story and his pain on the reason why he doesn't want to be with her. Again, this idea of spiritual psychosis comes in, his energy. She talks about his energy as if she can control it, or as if she has power over his energy. Also, she acts like she's all knowing over everything and his energy and his pain. It's very strange. It's very strange, and I would not want someone else worried about, again, my energy and my pain. It's off-putting. Uh, she keeps saying she's trying to understand, right? 33 years old, and you don't even know what love looks like. And then she talks about allowing others to love us. And then she talks about quitting smoking, right? Starflower, she's an energy vampire to the max. She really is. And you can see it when she's talking about taking somebody else's energy and, being in control of it, essentially, in my opinion. Blaming his energy and his pain for the reason why he doesn't want to be with her anymore. When in reality, it's because she's acting cuckoo nutso all the time. And he probably can't stand it. He can't handle it. Who could, Hey, Ann Brock, good to see you. Jocelyn, wow, she's a psychiatrist dream patient. I'll tell you, but, I wonder how much back and forth she went, with the psychiatrist, or I can't imagine how frustrating it would have been, because, I'm sure she comes in and says, oh, I did all this work, and, or she'll tell the psychiatrist, I had a panic attack, but not really. And the psychiatrist is probably looking at her like, what? So, clearly you did not have a panic attack. You're being over dramatic as usual. I wonder about her upbringing too, little Miss Sharon. I do. Bab says panic attacks are so scary. Feels like you're having a heart attack, meltdown, cloudy feeling. Yeah, absolutely. Hyperventilating. You can't breathe. Feel like something's like sitting on your chest. A heart attack is a really good one. My counselor had to tell me the one time, she's like, you're not going to die from that, because I thought I was going to. I felt like it, You weren't oversharing, Jocelyn. Thank you. Thank you so much for your experience. Don't anybody ever feel bad for telling your story. It's just some people are jerks and they don't understand. But I think it's important to listen to people who have been in these sort of dynamics to understand them, She makes me tired, that's for sure, Megan. I know. Can you imagine? And then having a 3-year-old on top of dealing with her, Yes, I played that on the other one. So she did pack up all of her things. Meg says, did you see where she packed up all of her things because she tried to wake her husband up, and that was like dealing with a teenager? And I was like, he probably didn't want to get out of bed. He's probably like, no, not today. I'm not dealing with this. No, I'm going back to bed. And see, that is the negative energy transfer. And then somebody could feel very much like trapped and depressed being with someone like that, right? Because it's like a Debbie Downer all the time, and always wondering what their emotional state is, and always trying to bring them back up to where they need to be, right? Because if they're not okay, nobody's okay. And that is the epitome of toxicity, in my opinion. Starflower says, Jocelyn, my child was much like yours. You can and you will learn to value yourself and learn your worth as a woman. Yay, Starflower. Absolutely. And I love having this channel because I think that is something that is power in numbers, and that we can all learn from it, right? And be like, hey, I don't want to be a statistic, or I don't want to allow for somebody to treat me that way anymore. Or, I noticed this weird thing, like, like Starflower saying, hey, I noticed this guy was moving too fast. I noticed, there was this element where he wanted to move in, but I wasn't ready, like, always trust yourself. Because if the right person will wait for you, you know what I mean? And not maybe, 50,000 years, but, I mean, they're going to say, okay, I understand that, and I'm sorry if I moved too quick for you, or something like that. And they'll back off, and that's healthy. But always speak up, because especially if you don't feel right. I think so too, Meg. He was possibly depressed and didn't want to get up. Yeah, and it was Christmas, and she was pissy because the Christmas party at his family's house was canceled due to weather. Well, I mean, there's nothing we can do about the weather. We can't change that. Why would you get upset with other people for that? Like, and be like, oh, well, of course, another bullshit, situation. I mean, and it very well could have been something where, there was some problems there, but yeah, Jocelyn, we love you. But that's very possible. But again, it was just so strange. So I saw this from At Night. So At Night Creative Intelligence posted this: missing U.S. teen Sebastian Rogers, vigilance required in the face of Vigilance is required in the face of intensifying international evidence of human trafficking, #Sebastian Rogers. And then it says this in, I believe this is German, underneath of it. So I thought this was interesting that it says that there is international evidence of human trafficking. So I wanted to pull this in and just kind of see what you all thought about it, because I never heard of evidence leading to trafficking. We did hear a little bit about that in the beginning. Dog the Bounty Hunter actually brought it up and said, we really need to be showing the victims of the human trafficking who are coming in Sebastian's picture to see if possibly they recognize him. But he said, unfortunately, the TBI is the ones who oversee that, and they didn't have a whole lot of faith in the TBI at that time, in my opinion. And so I thought that was very interesting that they would post something like this, and I wonder what type of evidence is leading them to believe of the human trafficking. I mean, obviously, we know about the yellow coat guy, and you all know how I feel about that person, that I do think that there is involvement because Sebastian's picture is on his phone. But I also haven't heard much about this. And again, I pulled this in this morning. I was a little late to the party because I hadn't been on Facebook. So I saw this and I thought, well, this is really something that we should probably discuss. And I don't know if you guys have heard maybe other creators talking about it, and I just haven't had a chance to go over and listen. But I think it's interesting. I know they put a flyer up of Sebastian in Spanish, which I think is very smart. And I don't know if they're just doing this to bring awareness in other countries. I don't know what to think of it, but I do pray that it isn't that situation. But I can't say that I can completely discount it being that either. I'm not sure what to think. And I just really hope that Sebastian's found soon. And maybe this is a valid lead. Maybe somebody will recognize Sebastian. And maybe they do have some evidence that there was something going on there that has come to light and that they know, but they can't give us more information on it. it's kind of a mysterious post in my opinion. And I think that the more awareness, the better. I've never heard of any type of human trafficking element coming into play, except for, like I said, pretty early on, when Dog came on, and that was about the 6-month mark. So it's just something interesting that I wanted to bring in today and, kind of go over with you guys and see what you thought. Because I think at this point, it would help to go over some of the information that we have, and then, possibly kind of backtrack and see if maybe there is evidence of this. Yeah, I agree with you there. Loma Sharon says, in my opinion, I can't imagine trafficking people who want the child who would have medical needs too much of a problem. And, I thought that too in the very beginning as well. I was thinking, with Sebastian's, unique set of circumstances, it would probably be very difficult to manage him, even though I think he is a very well-behaved, sweet boy. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying that it would be more difficult than someone who doesn't have that challenge. But then again, you just never know what these sickos are doing, It is very strange, Babs, and I just saw it and I was like, well, let me pull it in and talk about it a little bit because, we haven't heard a whole lot of new developments in Sebastian's case. And I know that that's probably, disheartening. It is to me anyway. I was really hoping that some things would be popping off in a positive direction. And it's just unfortunate, that we haven't had anything really solid that we can really kind of look at since the Texas Roadhouse video. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the Texas Roadhouse video was very telling. I think that the 1-year interview with Chris and Katie was very telling. Katie herself messing up, slipping up. Also, I thought that the America's Most Wanted interview was very biased, and I think the reason being is because it was controlled by the Proud Feet. They didn't show the entire Lights video. So I know, and see, that's my question too, Little Miss Sharon, is what's the evidence? What evidence do we have of this, right? What leads them to believe this, and why are they wanting international help? It's very interesting. So it may be something that we'll be exploring more of, because it does, it does say that there's evidence of, or they're believing this because of evidence, which is very interesting. And I think it's important to keep it in mind, and maybe there's something that we don't know that they found out, even with the case of Lily and Jack Sullivan. We have people coming out of the woodwork all of a sudden, and they want to be heard. That is a really good thing. But I also think that there's some motivations behind it, and maybe there's some motivations behind this as well. Sammy says, seems like this is maybe like a 3rd or 4th time that they've brought out something about trafficking or borders or something. I will not give my own opinion, but anytime someone brings a new theory. Well, you're right, Sammy. And, it did remind me of that too. It reminded me of the, the beginning with the trafficking, showing Sebastian's picture, the Mexico flyer that they came up with in Spanish, I like a mental list of reasons this could be true and reasons this could not be true. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want that too. I want to know what's going on with that. And I want to know what they know or who said something, what the evidence is, like little Miss Sharon said. Because something's making them do that, right? Something's got to, and then the way that it's worded is also kind of why I'm thinking something's up. Um, but I'll look into that more for us, and I'll plan up a show for us tomorrow. I know next week is going to be a little bit wacky um, in terms of me going live. I'm going to try to kind of mix it up. So I don't know if I'll go Sunday, but I'll definitely be up tomorrow so we can discuss these cases and kind of updates in all of the cases that we've been covering, really. And then I think there's a couple of reviews. Oh, I did want to pull in some of the interviews that we heard from Lily and Jack, their family members. I also wanted to pull in the grandmother on the biological father's side and kind of do, what do they think, since we heard. But I don't think we're going to hear anything from Malaya. I really don't. I don't anticipate her talking. I think she is hiding out, unfortunately. But I'm praying for a positive outcome. Hopefully the children will be found soon. So, but thank you all so much for being here with me and discussing all of the cases tonight. You guys are so awesome. And, I've just had a great time discussing everything with you guys and, going over the possibilities of what maybe could have happened in little Claire's case. So, yeah, I'm too stuck. Little Miss Sharon says I'm too stuck on other things to believe that info. Yeah. I mean, it kind of is unbelievable. And then you kind of wonder about a guy who's like, well, she didn't keep her word, but here I am spilling the beans about her financial situation and all kinds of stuff. But it does show that people care and they're coming out of the woodwork because they think they know something, they've seen something, they're going to say something. So it's important. You're welcome, little Miss Sharon. Thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for being here all the time. I really enjoy conversating with you guys and finding out what you think about these cases. So, oh, and don't forget to go to my video and wish Seth a happy birthday in there. I don't know I don't know if you like that or not. I'm the type of person where I'm like, oh, don't fuss over my birthday. But, Seth, we love you here. Happy birthday, and may the dear Lord bless you. And we're always thinking about you and Sebastian. So, we're not going to stop talking about him. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much.